Hi, everyone. The nation's capital has provided the political and sports headlines during the past week, and in about 1 hour from now, the biggest headline of all in the football season will come from Lansdowne Park, where the Saskatchewan Roughriders take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this 1967 renewal of the Grey Cup Classic. I'm Don Whitman, along with our color commentator and analyst on Eastern telecasts, Art Darch, and we're continuing with CBC television coverage of Canadian Football League action. And Art, as we prepare and anticipate this upcoming Grey Cup game, what do you think might happen? Will it again be a battle of the lines, as these two teams have used for their success thus far this year?
I think you're right, Don. The two clubs are, without a doubt, they have the strongest lines in all of Canadian professional ball, and it's going to be a real battle out there, a real clash this afternoon along that line.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders got through the semifinal against the Edmonton Eskimos by a score of 21-5 on a snow-covered field in Regina. And they used their workhorse, George Reed, in this one with a pass.
George Reed is noted for his ability to go up the middle, but in this particular play, a little bit of a surprise. He did a little curl-out pattern from the backfield and caught a pass.
They can also use Ed Buchanan to complement Reed.
Here again, Buchanan can go wide, cut back inside, and on this particular play here, he cut in from his flanker spot, took a handoff, and did a real slashing-type job behind the blocking of Tom Beenan.
Wayne Shaw seems to come up with at least one big defensive play in every game. Number 50 in this game against Edmonton broke through to spill Edmonton quarterback Terry Baker when the Edmonton Eskimos were threatening deep in Saskatchewan territory. Actually, I think the ball was down somewhere on the 9-yard line. And that wiped out, at that time, the Edmonton threat in the ballgame.
Wayne Shaw is, without a doubt, the best and strongest linebacker that they have.
Then, late in the game, a punt to number 17, Trent Walters, who attempted the pitch to Mike Law, number 27, and Garner Ekstrand, who is a key linebacker or defensive end. Wherever he lines up is very alert.
Another key about the Saskatchewan team is that they're a very aggressive club. They're always around the ball, as evidenced in this last play. You're going to see a lot of Garner Ekstrand this afternoon, number 75. Hopefully his injury is well enough for him to play.
And this, with Garner Ekstrand trotting into the end zone, was the final touchdown of the semifinal, and it provided Saskatchewan with a 21-5 victory. Football fans all across the country were anticipating a great Western final involving the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Calgary Stampeders. They were not to be disappointed. The Stampeders were favored on the basis of having finished in first place. Actually, Calgary and Saskatchewan wound up in a tie with records of 12 wins and 4 losses. But at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Stampeder fans turned out in record numbers to watch the first game. They were hopeful that the Stampeders, who had not been to a Grey Cup since 1949, would finally make it. And Calgary fans had plenty to cheer about in Game 1 as the Stampeders won 15-11. And one of the good plays was a fake field goal.
If Regina is weak at all on defense, it's similar to this particular pass that was completed by Jerry Keeling. They're not that strong in their short secondary or in their deep pass defense. As evidenced here, Ron Payne was able to get in behind Wolosyuk and Dumelli.
The key man all season long for Calgary was Terry Evanson. Peter Lusk throws to his favorite split end, who caused problems not only for Saskatchewan, but for every team in the Canadian Football League, catching a record 96 passes. And at this stage, Calgary moved in front, but Saskatchewan came back.
Saskatchewan and their favorite thrower and catcher, Lancaster to Campbell, and here again, you're going to see a lot of number 31 this afternoon, Hugh Campbell, the real fine flanker receiver for the Saskatchewan club.
Louis Huey, they call him. He had a big season last year. He still caught 42 passes this year, although he did not create the headlines he did a year ago. Against Saskatchewan, Bob McCarthy caught a pass. This seems to be a vulnerable area.
This is the point I was making before. Here again, you can see McCarthy getting in behind their deep hook zone, or in their short deep zone, you might call it, and that seems to be a very vulnerable area.
In short yardage situations, the Saskatchewan club can come up tough. And from the 1-yard line, they forced Peter Lisk to throw the ball. And on this particular play, he makes a great fake to Woodson. And Woodson, by diving off that tackle hole, draws the defenders into him. And that enables Peter Lisk, who tucks the ball into his tummy and then retrieves it, to send Lavelle Coleman swinging out to the right, and with all the tacklers drawn in, the passes there. This is a pretty tough play to defend against, Art.
You can't defend against this. The only way Calgary was going to score on that particular play was exactly what they did, because Saskatchewan Roughriders hit in there real tough in that close yardage situation.
Well, the Calgary fans were getting just a little excited, and they had reason to. They were leading in the first game of the playoffs by that score of 15-11, and they were looking for the kill as the teams moved to Saskatchewan for Game 2. But conditions came up cold, the field was frozen, and it had rained during the day, and both clubs experimented with different footwear. Saskatchewan, I guess, may have had the advantage. Lancaster, scrambling, fires deep, and this young fellow, Alan Ford, has developed into quite a receiver.
He works very well from a halfback spot or a flanker spot, and in this particular play, he went straight down the field from a flanker spot and just made a real fine catch. He is going to bear watching this afternoon, because if they start keying on Reed, they're going to go to Ford.
Then Dale West almost made a fine play. West intercepted 2 passes in this game, and he almost picked one off, as he told me, 110 yards for a big 6. Terry Evanson caught it 1 yard inside the end zone for the major score. But deep down, Calgary had to resort to the pass. And here's where Terry Evanson was injured. This is the play that number 25 caught the ball, ran downfield, and as he was hit, his cleats dug in on the frozen turf, and his right leg was fractured just above the ankle. Sad moment for Calgary fans and for Canadian Football League fans, as they were deprived of witnessing this fellow in action in the 3rd game. And here's Jack Abanchan kicking what proves to be the decisive point, the field goal, in an 11-9 victory for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Game 2. So it boiled down to 60 minutes of football at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, and in Calgary, the Calgary fans at least, were joined by some 700 rabid Saskatchewan rooters. The Calgary fans were entreated to set up plenty of crowd noise each time Saskatchewan moved out over the football and attempt to drown out the signals called by Ron Lancaster, but it didn't seem to bother the Saskatchewan quarterback too much. As a matter of fact, Saskatchewan struck early, and it was the bomb that proved effective for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Gordy Barwell, real fine split end for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, makes his presence felt early here as he breaks into the clear against Bill Gaskins, number 27. And this young man is going to be a real outstanding threat this afternoon.
And this was a play that was more or less devised in the huddle, and I don't know whether Ron Lancaster will ad-lib this afternoon, but he certainly caught the Calgary defenses napping as he drew everybody to the right and then turned back and fired to Jim Carpin, who had snuck down into the left flat in the end zone.
This is not a normal procedure for the team in throwing back to the weak side.
And here's Barwell again. He's developed into quite a receiver.
Yes, and it came at a most opportune time, as you mentioned earlier. Huey Campbell hasn't had the best year compared to last year, but and Barwell seemed to pick up the slack.
Again, Calgary got a break in this game, blocking a punt, and they swing it out to Lavelle Coleman. And Coleman, towards the end of the season, showed that he has completely recovered from that Achilles tendon injury of a year ago. He's a pretty tough man to stop on a one-on-one situation, and that's how they caught Saskatchewan.
You can bet that Hamilton is going to be using that this afternoon because that's one of Bacia's favorite passes, that swing out into the flat.
What will Hamilton use against this fellow, number 34, George Reed?
Right now, I think they need a shotgun.
Reed enjoyed a fine afternoon. He carried the ball 35 times for something like 201 yards, and we look for he to be the workhorse of that Saskatchewan attack again. You might say that in the dying seconds, Bob McCarthy demonstrated the frustration of this Calgary team. He scored the touchdown. He fires the ball. Whoops, it comes right back. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, by most of the so-called experts, at least in the preseason polls, were picked to finish third, possibly even fourth in the Eastern Conference. Ralph Sazio did a remarkable job with the Hamilton team, adding players throughout the season, and at the tail end of the year, his club was most stingy, not yielding a touchdown in the final 3 league games, and they didn't yield any in the playoffs against Ottawa either.
Early in the game, Hamilton sets their real strong defensive pattern that's going to be quite prominent throughout this series. On a hook pass there to Gilbert, a crushing tackle from Stover, along with Hansen, springs the ball loose, and number 35, Ron Brewer, is Johnny on the spot to recover it and give Hamilton real good field position early in the ball game.
Brewer and Stover, two of the prominent people in this defensive play, were late-season additions for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and certainly added to that always tough Tiger Cat defense. And then offensively, number 22, Alan Smith, made a great debut in the Canadian Football League. He was added from the Buffalo Bills just prior to this game.
First time he got his hands on the ball, Don, in a Canadian League game. He attempted to slash off tackle. The hole was well covered in there by the Ottawa defense, and Allen just took the only alternate route left and took off to the outside and showed his great speed and outlegging Klein and Sutherland for the touchdown.
How much do you think he might be used this afternoon?
Well, I can say that Saskatchewan doesn't have any great knowledge of this man's ability, and I think he could be a secret weapon.
Russ Jackson had problems against Hamilton in Game 1. The Hamilton defenders were knocking down the Ottawa receivers at the line of scrimmage, and many, many times throughout the series and in this game, Jackson's pass receivers were covered, and Russ was forced to move out of there.
Hamilton are not going to be able to play the same type of a defensive alignment this afternoon against Saskatchewan because they have to protect against Reed up the middle, and in this particular game against Ottawa, they were protecting against that passing attack.
Here's Bob Krause, who has certainly blossomed for Hamilton. He was moved to that cornerbacking spot, and he won All-Star recognition.
This is what happens when you do your homework, and in this instance, the Hamilton defense were just the best schooled I had ever seen a defensive club. They came into that game very well prepared, and in this case, Krause had dropped back exactly. He read the pattern well, dropped back into a perfect position to intercept that pass.
And all the Hamilton defense yielded to Ottawa in the series was a field goal in the first game. And it was a score of 11-3 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Ottawa Roughriders. Zuger did some scrambling. He probably will today. He's the key, I think, to the Hamilton offense.
You're right, Don. Lancaster's a great scrambler, but so is Joe Zuger. If he gets into trouble, he can go outside and always have that threat of the run. And in this case here, he gave the threat of the run and brought the corner linebacker up that freed up Watkins for that little short pass into the sideline.
Again, the tough defense aided by a slippery football and a slippery field. Bo Scott was trapped by Smokey Stover for a safety touch.
Smokey Stover, you'll see him doing a great deal of blitzing this afternoon. I'm sure he'll be the man that will be keying on George Reed in his attempt to keep that ball control up the middle.
Here you see Joe Zuger rolling out of there. Perhaps in this play, he should have got rid of that ball.
Well, Joe, unfortunately, has one problem, is that if his first receiver is covered, he has a little difficulty in locating his second receiver, is what happened in this particular case, and he was spilled for a loss.
And Hamilton may be pressured. That blitz might be on by Saskatchewan this afternoon.
Well, when you got two ends like Gerhardt and Ekstrand and a blitzing cornerback like Wayne Shaw, number 50, he's going to be, he'll have to be real sharp this afternoon.
Well, with an 8-point edge, things were not entirely bleak and black for the Ottawa Roughriders as they went into Game 2. But I think the key to that second game was scoring first. And surprisingly enough, Hamilton came back almost as quickly as they did in Game 1. They struck early for the first touchdown.
Dave Fleming has another pleasant surprise for Ralph Fazio this year. Here he just floats down the middle and catches the Ottawa defense in a spread situation and capitalizes on the situation and is in the clear.
And here again, it's Fleming. He, as you pointed out, Art, has developed into a fine receiver. And you think we might see them use this type of play against Saskatchewan, or does their defense dictate against it?
Well, I think he'll spread out the Saskatchewan defense with the same type of patterns that he used against Ottawa in this series. And with a man like Fleming's ability on this particular play, it was a slight delay into the middle. And you'll recall, Don, I mentioned about the weakness in that particular area, that short secondary.
They moved Bill Riddell into quarterback. He's almost a forgotten man in that Cosentino for Coffee trade, but he's been a great addition in that deep backfield.
A great backup man, and here's another man, number 18, Tommy Grant, who could be a surprise this afternoon. That was Tommy's first touchdown of the year, and we're looking for Tommy to have a great afternoon.
In addition to the game itself, one of the highlights of Grey Cup Week is the awarding of individual trophies to the outstanding Canadian, the outstanding lineman, and the outstanding player. The outstanding lineman, Ed McQuarters, will be in the game. Peter Lisk and Terry Evanston, who won the other awards, are spectators at this afternoon's football game. Mr. Fling and Mr. Kling is one nickname that has been given to Calgary's outstanding passing and catching combination of quarterback Peter Lisk and split end Terry Evanston, both Shenley Award winners. And first of all, Peter, I'd like to ask you what the secret to your success was as a passer and as a catcher for Terry Evanston. Did you fellas work on patterns during the course of the year a lot?
Well, Don, I think this is more or less of a 2-year orientation to each other. Last year in Calgary, we started to throw a little bit more than normal because of the injury situation. And this year, we started in training camp with everybody running pass patterns, and the way it evolved to throwing the ball more this year. We went to Terry a little bit more often, and we developed a few signals between ourselves to adjust the defenses, and it just seemed to work for us, so we had to stay with it.
Terry, after you catch a football, you're also a daring type runner. Has this always been part of your success?
Well, it certainly has, because before I was a catcher, I was a runner, and I love to run with the football, and when I do catch it, the first thing that enters my mind is to take off with the ball.
Last year, Peter, you mentioned you had a lot of injuries. You were forced to throw the football, and that's when you won your first-string job. Was this part of your success this year, too? The fact that you were able to move in there, and under pressure, you had to do a lot of work.
Well, I think probably the biggest factor this year is just getting the opportunity to start, knowing the coaches had confidence in me, and I could just go out and concentrate on doing my job and not really worrying that somebody was breathing down my back.
Terry, how often are you the primary receiver in the Calgary patterns?
Well, it's difficult to say. If I feel that on a particular play I can beat my man, I'll tell Peter, and not necessarily he'll run it at that part of the game. But if he feels that later on we can score 600, get a big gainer, he'll call it, and we'll go from there.
For a little fella, you've thrown some blocks, not punishing, but you knock people down.
Well, as long as I get in the way, that's all that counts.
What about the Grey Cup game, Saskatchewan and Hamilton? Have you any views as to how it might turn out?
Well, I predicted that Regina were going to win, and a lot of people have been have commented on it, but I feel that it's going to be naturally probably the toughest ball game of the year, and you're going to see some real good, hard-hitting football.
Peter?
I'm not going out on a limb. I'm just looking forward to a real hard-hitting football game, and I think it's two real fine football teams. I just wish we were there.
What about the passing attack of the Saskatchewan Roughriders against that vaunted Hamilton defense? Ronnie Lancaster throws the ball quite well.
Yes, he certainly does. The biggest thing they have going for them, I think, is using the pass, the long bomb at the unexpected time. Naturally, your defenses have to watch for George Reed and Buchanan, and when you're playing a little bit tighter that line of scrimmage, it opens up some of the deeper patterns.
Thank you, Peter Lisk and Terry Evans. They wish they were there. If they come up with the same type of performance next year, it might be tough to keep the Calgary Stampeders away from the 1968 Grey Cup. Well, we've heard from two non-competing players. Let's listen to what the coaches have to say. First of all, Eagle Keys of Saskatchewan. Eagle, in the only previous meeting this year, you beat Hamilton by 1 point in an extremely close game. What do you look for in this Grey Cup game? Do you think you'll be able to do much the same as you did in that ball game?
Yes, we really do. We can't determine how Hamilton is going to come up and try their defenses. So we are going in the game prepared to do a lot of checking, and the play during the game will dictate what we'll do during the game.
You got a stronger club now than you had at that stage of the season?
Yes, we've got a stronger club, but we've got so many injuries that we really don't know how strong we'll be until the game starts.
Eagle, what do you think Hamilton might try to do against you?
Well, I'm sure that they're going to mix up their offensive attack, and they're going to throw the ball and also try to run it. By that, they have a varied attack and can do either thing.
Western Rep, let's hear what Ralph Sazio of Hamilton thinks about the game. Ralph, how much improved is your club as you prepare to go into the Grey Cup game over what it was, say, after 3 weeks of the season?
Oh, I think our club is at least 30 to 40% more improved, both offensively and defensively. The defense has been, of course, the core that has carried us through this far, but I would say that the biggest improvement has been our offense, and this is because some of the players that were new are now familiar with the type of system that we're using, and of course, Joe Zuger now is familiar with the where they run best and what patterns they run best. We're greatly improved over the middle of the season.
Okay, Arthur, what do you think about that Hamilton team? Is it greatly improved?
Very definitely. They have never reached their potential offense all year, and I don't even think they reached it last week. I think they started to mold last week. And Joe Zuger is going to be, I think, a key factor in this game this afternoon.
Well, we've got East and West, and I think we're going to have differing opinions as to the outcome. Who are you picking?
Well, I'm picking Hamilton, I think, in a real close game. And if you want me to really go out on the limb, I'll pick a score of 21-17 for Hamilton.
I'll hop out on the limb, too. I'll pick the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a score of 24-14. How about that?
Very good. Well, that's what makes the world go round, differences of opinion.
And there have been differences of opinion all week here in Ottawa as to just how the game would turn out, and I guess that's what makes the Grey Cup the great spectacle it is. Art, I think from a Saskatchewan standpoint, the key is George Reed.
Yes, very definitely. George is their key as far as ball control. Bear in mind, though, Ron Lancaster, I think, is equally as important in this situation because Ron has a great ability to control this offense in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage with these audible calls. And it's going to be interesting to see if Hamilton gives them the same defensive maneuver that they did against Ottawa in stacking that defense to try and disrupt him from these audible calls.
Well, Ron Lancaster formerly played with the Ottawa Roughriders, and he'll have plenty of fan support at Lansdowne Park this afternoon. Another interesting battle may be decided today. There has been controversy over the selection of Ed McWhorters as Lineman of the Year. Many feel that John Barrow of the Hamilton Tiger Cats should have got the award. Well, this afternoon, perhaps that issue will be settled once and for all, depending on which number 61, the green and white of John Barrow or the black and gold of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, comes up as the defensive star of the ballgame. Art, it's certainly been enjoyable bringing football games to the fans across the country throughout the year. You're picking Hamilton, I'm picking Saskatchewan. We'll find out in just a few minutes. See you at the field.
In 30 minutes, it'll be the kickoff for the 41st annual Grey Cup game. This is Johnny Esau, and I have the pleasure of working with Gene Phillipsky, our color man from Western Canada, on this Grey Cup telecast today. Gene, you've been busy taking a look at both of those clubs warm up. You've had a close opportunity to work with them during the week, and I think that everything that could be done has been done for a great Grey Cup game.
I'm sure it has, John, and in talking with some of these coaches, I've never heard such determination on both parts to win a football game. Both have had very satisfying seasons this year, but they want to desperately cap it off with Grey Cup victories, and it's going to be a classical battle out here, I'm sure, this afternoon.
Well, I think that the coaches who said you can only go so far at this time of year to do anything both said to their teams, I want you to go downtown Thursday night and Friday night. Not too late, mind you, but soak up some of the atmosphere, get that Grey Cup fever, so when you come out on this field as they are now, they will be ready.
Oh, they're going to be ready out there. There's no doubt about it, John. This is a big thing for both teams. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have the cup, and they're not going to give it up very easily. The Tiger Cats, on the other hand, are going to really be out there after it, let me tell you.
Well, you know, the Tiger Cats, 5 years in a row, prior to last year, that is. Saskatchewan had to go a long way back from 28 to 32, 5 years in a row. Two great traditionalists here, and it shapes up as a great football battle. And we will continue with more of our pre-game Grey Cup activities in just a moment.
Our football game comes into your living room via television is often taken for granted. However, it's not taken for granted by the people who make up the technical crew, production staff, and commentators who spend many, many hours making certain the viewer receives the best possible analysis, information, and pictures. From the executive producer, Johnny Esau, to the floorman, they know that a successful telecast relates directly to teamwork and precision. The Hamilton Tiger Cats and Saskatchewan Roughriders are here today because they worked hard and probably just a little more successfully together as a unit. The telecast crew has been hand-picked with the same thought in mind. Yesterday at noon, 75 people started rehearsal at Lansdowne Park for the rest of the day. And later on, this morning also worked up. This is Action Center, the CJOH ultra-colored modern mobile, with 8 cameras, 50 monitors, 20 microphones, and 15 miles of cable. This is Action Center, where producer Bill McKee is looking over things. Talking with John Spaulding, his supervising producer, and that's Jeannie Pride, also his script assistant. They're charged with the responsibility of feeding 4 networks, CTV, CBC, in both French and English. Up top, Johnny Esau takes the cue from his floorman, and that's statistician Gord Walker concentrating in the background. He'll be working with Gene Filipski as colorman and John Bassett as his spotter. And down on the field, Bill Bewley is always ready with bench communications and information. He discusses an intricate procedure with his floor director. And back to Action Central, where again you have the French mobile group. Pierre Perrault, the play-by-play man, Jean-Jacques Fortin, who is on the field, and Bernard Raymond, who is the floor director. John Layton is on the instant isolated camera. And that is the limb of Andy Shaw. Last year a football player, this year injured, not playing football, but acting as an analysis for this particular telecast. He looks things over, presses a button that presents you, the viewing public, with a play that you really want to see. He supplies an instant isolation replay from this videotape machine on a delayed basis. Shaw, of course, has gained a lot of prestige with his insight into football, and he's connected directly to Gene Filipski and Johnny Esau upstairs. In the press box studio, last-minute preparations are completed. Cameras are checked out. The super boards that include the lineups of the players, and also the statistical board is finished in both French and in English. And irrespective of which team wins today's football game, the cameras will be ushered into that dressing room for interviews with the players of that team and for the Grey Cup presentation. It takes a week to assemble, 3 hours to disassemble, and this, of course, is a great intricate display. Many football fans develop an intensive interest in the statistics of football. They claim the mathematics of football will tell you who will win and why. Their knowledge enables them to bend the statistics to their way of thinking. Regular statistician Gord Walker has comparative statistics that will undoubtedly open up some new areas of discussion.
Ending is just one of the things you can do with statistics. A lot of people try to interpret them, and that's a mistake because statistics only mean one thing. They tell the story of what actually happened. Now, today we're going to try and give you a comparative statistical picture of Hamilton and Saskatchewan, and we have a large number of figures here, and I'll explain what they mean. In first downs, for instance, Hamilton's average per game this year was 13 first downs. Their opposition averaged 14 first downs. Saskatchewan has an edge here. They averaged 16 and held the opposition to 14. In yards rushing, this is a kind of a strange one. Hamilton averaged 121 yards rushing, and the opposition 128, so Hamilton lost in that exchange. Saskatchewan has a wide advantage, 169 to 103 over the opposition. And passing, I also thought Saskatchewan might have an edge here, but Hamilton does. 202 yards, 179 for the opponents. And as you see down, all the way down, and I think the important one is the punting average down here with punt return average deducted to show the actual gain on each punt. Now that is the statistical comparison of the two teams, and you can figure out from yourself which one is going to win. And now down to the field and Johnny Bassett.
On the field with the captains of the two teams and the referee, Harry Ross, for the official coin toss. Mr. Ross?
Hamilton will call. Field.
Jackson, your choice.
Send this in.
You'll receive. You'll receive. You just turn over to the side now, please.
The captain was the pass.
Write that down.
Kickers, and we want to finish you today. We don't want to have
I'll get word to you. Okay, now. It's a time element now. In other words, on every field goal, he'd want to go to the bench.
We'd bring it out to him. And it'd just be, we'll have people coming in. But it's just not quite long enough, because he can't,
I don't see any reason not, but I'll check in here and I'll give you the word.
Because it'll only be a matter of seconds.
I'll
you know what I mean? But if you have to hustle and everything, it's...
That's all. It's part of the ballgame, and I'll just hear with both teams.
It might be a major part in the game.
I certainly will.
Since they're going to have to wear tennis shoes out here, which are...
okay. I'll get word to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. Mr. Ross, fine-looking team of officials we have today. I wonder if you'd be kind enough to introduce them to the people across the country.
My pleasure. My name is Harry Ross from Montreal. Don King is my first umpire from Regina. Don, step forward.
How do you do?
Skip Sigan from Ottawa. Ken Stein from Vancouver. My head linesman is Bud Wiley from Montreal, and my field judge is Sid Burkhoff from Edmonton.
Mr. Ross, I hope you have a marvelous game.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's get back upstairs to Ken Ewan.
Bill Bewley now talks to the highly respected head coach of the Eastern finalist Ottawa Roughriders, Frank Clare. Bill Bewley now talks to the highly respected head coach of the Eastern finalist Ottawa Roughriders, Frank Clare.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats have a devastating defense, perhaps the finest in the country. Frank, what makes them so strong?
Well, Bill, I'd like to illustrate on the board here, they certainly have a very fine defensive team, and might point out some of the things that make them that way and what they have here. Now, of course, in this we have a what we call five perimeter deep defense, and for instance, Henley's in this area here, one of their finest men in the country, of course. But I'd like to show you just what happens and responsibilities in this five-zone defense. Should Ronnie Lancaster today now come out and drop back straight, which he does allow beside his rollouts, here's where these men back here would react. The deep men, of course, would have responsibility of taking a third of the field. And this is true, and they're always staying back and keeping the receivers in front as they move back. The passes that Ronnie's dropped back, these men have up to about 15, 20 yards in the what we call the flat area. They move back slow. Snooky Stoner is in this position right here, Bill, and of course he comes back up around 10 and 15 yards to cover that area there. Over here we have our
linebacker, what we call the linebacker cornerbacks, and they're going back in the zones, and of course watching for the hook zone area in this area. The another man over here, of course, the cornerback's coming back, and he, of course, is taking this area back in here. So you can see that we have 5 short zones and 3 deep zones. Well, and the weakness, of course, where Ronnie can throw this ball is in what we call the seams. There's a seam in here, there's a seam in these areas. These are the hardest to cover of all the things that Hamilton might have to cover. This is a difficult thing.
So we can look for Lancaster to hit into these areas today.
This is the big one, Bill.
Right. Okay. Now, moving offensively, Frank, the strength of that Hamilton offense hasn't been too great this season. What do you assess strengths and weaknesses there?
Well, I do think that some people have got the wrong impression, of course, that this team doesn't have a good offense. But I think the best thing they have, of course, is passing. They've got some fine receivers, and Tommy Joe Coffey, and, of course, Watkins. And I think the boy that might be overlooked a lot, of course, is the flanker. And he'll be in a position to move out more. And, of course, Willie Bethea is a very fine receiver himself. And I think that their passing is their dominant thing.
Right, so Tommy Grant, Tommy Coffey, Joe Zuger should provide lots of action today.
Should be one.
Okay, Frank, we'll watch it very shortly.
Last year, analyst Andy Shaw was in the Grey Cup game as a player. This year, as a commentator, he talked to the nation's outstanding player, Peter Lisk of the Western Football finalist Calgary Stampeders.
Offense in CFL history. And as a great offensive player, Peter, what's your assessment of that Saskatchewan offense?
Well, Andy, I believe the strength probably lies in that real fine offensive line. They have a lot of experience, a lot of savvy, and naturally a lot of talent. They can maintain that ball control on the ground, opening up play-action passes for the passing attack.
Speaking of that passing attack, perhaps we can just step back and diagram a few of the things that happened with that great Saskatchewan passing.
Well, they get naturally that fine offensive blocking from tackles Tom Bainan and Clyde Brock, guards Jack Abenson and John Atamian, and center Ted Ernest. They allow straight-ahead blocking for George Reed and sometimes cross-blocking so he can pick his hole along the line to maintain that ball control on the ground, with Alan Ford and Ed Buchanan sometimes mixing in. After they get that running attack going, they can fake the same plays into the line with Lancaster keeping the ball and creating a play-action type pass. Oftentimes you'll see flanker Hugh Campbell go down here into the short flat, drawing up the secondary, with halfback Ed Buchanan slipping in deep behind with his great speed.
Going deep in here.
Right. And also on the other side, you'll find split end Gord Barwell sometimes going in the short flat, but oftentimes getting deep behind with his great speed. Again, Lancaster faking play action in the backfield, with Barwell doing a real fine job and having a great year this year.
Well, that's an excellent description of what they do offensively, but probably the element that you're most familiar with, Peter, is that Saskatchewan defense. Could you say a few words about that unit?
Well, they certainly put an awful lot of pressure on the quarterback when he's trying to throw, and naturally the secret right here is 260 pounds of Ed McWaters. He's certainly a fine defensive lineman and puts tremendous pressure on you, along with the linebackers on their patented blitz.
Well, thank you very much for those notes, Peter. Congratulations on your award, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in action again next season.
Pleased to have with us down on the field Mr. Sidney Halter, the former commissioner of the Canadian Football League. Mr. Halter, this is not a new thing for you by any means, Grey Cup activities.
Well, Al, I've been attending, Bill, I've been attending them all since 1935. And for the last, I guess 14, 15 years, I've been concerned in the arrangements for the game.
Well, with this being our centennial year, do you see any bigger and more exciting Grey Cup in Ottawa this year than some of the previous ones?
Well, the arrangements have been excellent, and all the festivities leading up to the actual game have been very good, very well organized.
Fine. And Mr. Halter, we've added a 6th official for the Grey Cup, which is one more than the regular league games. What is his extra assignment?
Well, we started that about 10 years ago so that there would be 3 Eastern and 3 Western officials. The extra official is another line umpire, but he plays in between the regular line umpire and the back umpire, and he covers the short passes.
Right. Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Halter. And back upstairs to Ken Newens. Thank you very much, Mr. Halter.
they call it? Well, certainly the two football clubs, the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Saskatchewan Roughriders, have been working out this week, and in somewhat trying conditions because the practice field was a sheet of ice, and both Coach Ralph Fazio of the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Eagle Keys of the Saskatchewan Roughriders certainly didn't want to let their clubs let out on that practice field because of the icy conditions and the fear of injury. We understand from discussing with both trainers from both clubs and the doctors from both teams that the clubs are going to be in exceptionally fine condition for this football game today. The Ticats are 100% healthy, while the Saskatchewan Roughriders are undoubtedly going to still feel some of the bumps and the bruises of that three-game set they had against the Calgary Stampeders a week ago. You'll notice we've got some field action where we've got the Hamilton Tiger Cats drum corps working out on the field, and certainly lots of pageantry getting ready. We also notice that the stands are starting to fill up here at Lansdowne Park, and indications are that it'll certainly be beyond the capacity crowd at what has to be considered one of Canada's most spacious and finest football arenas. There's no doubt about it. The play, the viewing area, and the stands are indeed first class and certainly fitting of this national classic, the Grey Cup game, which we have said before and will say again, is one classic in Canada that unites us from coast to coast, because we've met people here this week, undoubtedly from every province in the Dominion of Canada. Now let's go down to field level and bring in John Bassett.
On the field with Al Pollard, the former All-Pro from the BC Lions. It's 10 years, Al, since you've been on these Canadian fields, and although you've had a warm welcome here all week, it's awful chilly out here from these boys today.
John, very cold, and I was watching Saskatchewan and Hamilton warm up prior to the festivities, and it looks like there's going to be some drop passes today because their hands will, of course, get very cold out here.
You haven't been back in about 10 years. Have you been following the league at all down in Philadelphia?
Very much so. I get the Canadian newspapers, and we have a lot of coaches that I know up here. Ray Malavasi, of course, with Hamilton, and Joe Resick. And
I know you were out with Ray the other night. Maybe he told you some stuff he hasn't told some of the press about that team today. Are they?
I think you're going to expect a few new plays here today from Hamilton. They've been working on a few, and also a couple of new defenses, which Ray didn't go into detail, but you will be seeing them today.
You think this hard field, Al, will favor the defense today or favor the offense?
Defensively, of course, because the footing isn't too great out here, and I understand that some of the boys are wearing sneakers, and
well, I think they've left it. The decision is up to the individual player, and I think we'll probably see before the end of the game some of the boys will be switching back and forth.
Right.
But there's one thing for sure: we can wear those winter boots, and we're going to enjoy it that way more than they are. And it's
certainly
nice
will.
to talk with you.
Thank you very much, God.
Now let's get back upstairs to Kenny Noon. Officially the most beautiful lady in Canada this year, and Bill, we'll have to do this interview together. Julie Dixie, Miss Grey Cup. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Who do you see is winning this ball game today, Julie? I know you're an Ottawa Roughrider fan.
I see Hamilton winning it because I think they're awfully strong defensively. But because I'm an Ottawa fan, I'd like to see the West take it because I don't like Hamilton.
Bill, she knows her football.
She does, Don. And Julie, you've been seeing a lot of football this year. I'm sure you're looking forward to this game like we all are.
Oh, yes, very much so.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with you, and we wish you luck in the coming year, and congratulations once again, Julie.
Thank you.
get back upstairs to Ken Hughes.
There are some of the stands filling up here at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. And as I related earlier, the ticket situation in Ottawa prior to game time, and certainly yesterday, was that it should be, probably will be, a sellout crowd. You heard the former commissioner, Sidney Halder, make the statement that preparations prior to the Grey Cup have been absolutely outstanding. Would like to say that we have felt the same, that certainly the city of Ottawa did not warm up. I don't think the Grey Cup fever until last night, probably still feeling the shock of their own football club not being in the affair. But last evening, thousands of Ottawaians poured into the downtown area of Ottawa to mingle with those from Hamilton, from the east, and from the west. And a lot of merriment and merrymaking. In fact, one police officer told me this morning he has never seen such a crowd in downtown Ottawa, and he has never seen such a friendly crowd, and certainly law and order was not a problem here in Ottawa last night, which certainly is a great thing as far as the Grey Cup festivities is concerned. Both Hamilton and Saskatchewan are in the Grey Cup because they've been able to develop or regain their composure on defense. Fans have been schooled in the importance of defense, and we have the defensive coaches with us now. Third year as line coach with the Saskatchewan Roughriders is Jim Duncan, who spent 6 years under Steve Owen, who they claim wrote much of the book about defensive football. Jim has done the same in Saskatchewan, and he's going to now talk about defense and introduce the men who he hopes will make his defense work best.
The defense that the Saskatchewan Roughriders will use today is a basic 5-4 or Oklahoma type of defense. Actually, you will see us in this defense very, very little. As a matter of fact, we're one of the few coaches, one of the few teams in Canada that use this defense at all, but we will be in it sometime during the ball game. Now, by moving Wayne Shaw up on the line of scrimmage, Wally Dempsey over into the middle, we've become a basic 4-3 or 6-1 type defense, very similar to what the Hamilton Tiger Cats will use today.
The starting defense for the Saskatchewan Roughrider Football Club. From the Saskatoon Hilltops, number 50, left corner linebacker Wayne Shaw. Minnesota Concordia College, number 79, left defensive end Don Gerhardt. Oklahoma University, number 61, left tackle Ed McQuarters. Saskatoon Hilltops, number 41, middle guard Ron Atchison. Tulsa University, number 58, right tackle Ken Reed. Washington State, number 75, right defensive end Garner Ekstrand. Washington State, number 77, middle linebacker Wally Dempsey. Saskatoon Hilltops, number 27, right defensive halfback Ted Dushinsky. Arizona University, number 26, left defensive halfback Larry DeMelli. Winnipeg Rods, number 19, right safety Gene Woloshuk. Kentucky University, number 24, left safety Bob Cossett. Florida State, number 30, the safety man Bruce Bennett. The Hamilton Tiger Cats' success in Grey Cup play, many feel, has come about because of their fierce defenses. A defense that likes to take you on man for man. Hamilton added new people in 67. All play the game, however, in the tradition of a Ticat football player. Ron Brewer, Smokey Stover, Bill Riddell, Bobby Richardson, and Barry Hansen. 5 new faces who all fit into the Ticat master plan. It's ironical that the man to introduce this fierce fighting defense is the scholarly defensive coach, Mr. Joe Roughriders.
Our basic defense is a 4-3-5. By that we mean 4 linemen up front, 2 ends and 2 tackles, 3 linebackers, and 5 deep backs. At the left defensive end is number 70, Dave Vitti. At the left defensive tackle is number 68, Angelo Mosca. At the right defensive tackle, number 61, John Barrow. The right defensive end, number 50, Billy Ray Laughlin. At the left linebacker, Ron Brewer, number 35. At the middle linebacker, Smokey Stover, number 25. And at the right linebacker spot, we have Bobby Krause, number 14. At the left corner, Bill Riddell, number 12. Right corner, we have Teddy Cage, number 15. At the left halfback spot, we have Bobby Richardson, number 23. The right halfback spot, number 28, Barry Hansen. And our safety, number 26, Donnie Henley. That's our defense for this ballgame.
Thank you very much, Joe Restick, and the assistant coaches, Joe Restick and Jim Duncan, introducing their 2 defenses that turned out to be the top 2 defenses as far as the playoff competition was concerned. Lansdowne Park in Ottawa was completed in time in the centennial year to play host to Grey Cup 1967. And for those of you who are watching this today in living color or in black and white, certainly you will have, I'm certain, be able to see that Lansdowne Park is perhaps the finest football stadium in the nation. It has 2 fine decks and an outstanding show for an outstanding show of the Grey Cup. And now let's go down to the field and John Bettman.
Meet the offensive team of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Saskatoon Hilltops, the left end, number 71, Gord Barwell. The University of Western Ontario, the left tackle, number 64, Tom Bainan. The University of New Mexico, the left guard, number 53, Jack Avanchan. Arizona, the center, number 43, Ted Ernest. From Notre Dame, the right guard, number 57, John Atamian. From Utah State, number 67, the right tackle, Clyde Brock. Wittenberg College, the right end, number 72, Jim Warden. From Washington, the flanker, number 31, Hugh Campbell. From San Diego, the left halfback, number 25, Ed Buchanan. From the College of the Pacific, the right half, number 21, Alan Ford. From Washington State, the fullback, number 34, George Reed. From Wittenberg College, the quarterback, number 23, Ron Lancaster. Ron? meet the offensive team of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Number 76, the left end in the College of the Pacific, Ted Watkins. From Michigan State, the left tackle, number 54, Ellison Kelly. From Tennessee, the left guard, number 55, Bill Danichuk. From Villanova, the center, number 44, Gene Stefatelli. From Wisconsin, the right guard, number 57, John Holman. From Ohio, the right tackle, number 66, Charlie Turner. From West Texas State, the right end, number 75, Tommy Joe Coffey. From Windsor AKO, the flanker, number 18, Tommy Grant. From Pittsburgh, the left half, number 21, Dave Fleming. From Fort Valley, Georgia, the right half, number 22, Alan Smith. From Patterson, New Jersey, the fullback, number 16, Willie Batia. From Arizona State, the quarterback, number 9, Joe Duger. Oh, is this hard field going to make any difference to you?
I hope not, Johnny. It's a little frozen, but I think the running shoes we have will work out pretty good. I hope so, anyway.
Well, good luck to you in the Hamilton Tiger
Thank you very much.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Hamilton Tiger Cats are all set, and we'll be ready for the opening kickoff after.
Okay, well, coming in. It's not very fast yet.
Where's Mary? She's not there.
for the Governor General Roland Michener to kick off. The president of the CFL holding the football. And they're so jammed with photographers down there that fortunately he kicked the ball high enough out of that crowd that we were at least able to see how far the ball went, and we have to give him credit for a 22-yard kickoff to start this, our Centennial Grey Cup.
Not playing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, number 11, Jesse Hay. Number 51, Cliff Shaw. And number 66, Al Benson. Not playing for the Hamilton Tigers, number 34, Dick Stiff. Number 48, Doug Mitchell.
Before we get the
kickoff, Bob Steiner, number 63, instead of 62.
Why you declared in favor of Hamilton today?
Because I used to live in Hamilton. I used to play football in Hamilton, so naturally I have a sort of a sentimental feeling for them.
Fine, thank you very kindly, sir.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, est-ce que la semaine de la Coupe Grey et la classique de la Coupe Grey ajoute du cachet aux célébrations des fêtes du centenaire de la Confédération? Oui, cela ne fait pas de doute. Dans toutes les célébrations de l'année de centenaire, la partie de la Coupe Grey, c'est très important. Je vous remercie beaucoup, monsieur le Président.
Well, the football teams have a great variety of running shoes. Most of them will have running shoes, although we may even have them change sometimes before the game is over. The wind will be favoring the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and getting ready to kick off for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is their great guard and kicker, number 53, Jack Abinchan. And going back to receive for the Hamilton Tiger Cats will be number 16, Willie Bethia, and number 21, Dave Fleming, and Alan Smith, number 22. So we're ready now as the referee, Harry Ross from Montreal, the umpires, Don King of Regina, Gib Segal of Ottawa, and Ken Stein of Vancouver. The head linesman is Bud Wiley of Montreal, and the field judge is Sid Burkhoff of Edmonton. And with Harry Ross refereeing, I believe this is the first time that the head referee has come from Montreal in over 30 years of Grey Cup. We've had so many people down on the sidelines, so many press people, so many cameramen, that they simply have to hold the game up until they can get everybody back from those sidelines. The referee has said he will not let the ball go until they have that sideline clear. But as we have said so many times early in this telecast, that there is a great mob here in Ottawa, and controlling them is going to be a difficult problem. Now we're ready to go with the Grey Cup. With the wind, the kick comes down to Alan Smith on the 5. Alan Smith is hit by Wally Dempsey, number 77, and dropped on the 27-yard line, and rookie Gary Brandt, number 54, came in to hit him from the side and drive him down. A 61-yard kick, a 23-yard return, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats will go on offense.
John, I think there's a possibility that we can look for an I formation here with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Also the ends formation, where Coffey is inserted between the guard and the tackle.
They're coming off the ball in a hurry. The handoff is to Alan Smith, and Smith goes into the 27-yard line. He is hit by the safety man, Bruce Bennett, and he is stopped with the help of Don Gerhardt, number 79, the defensive end. Now the gain is about 1.5 yards. It'll be second down, 8.5 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Tiger Cats are a team that has not allowed a touchdown in the last 5 football games. It's an amazing defensive record. There's a bit of that I formation. It's a wild toss. Alan Smith missed it, and the ball was recovered back on the 13-yard line. Hamilton Tiger Cats with Joe Zuger going back, racing back to pick it up, and they went into, as Gene started to point out, a semi-I formation that they were obviously not ready for, and Smith went right by the football. A loss of 16. Third down and 16 yards to go. Ball is on the 13. Joe Zuger, second punter in the Eastern Conference, will kick from behind his own goal line into the wind. Joe hits a low one. Bounds by Gene Wolashuk. He's hit by Gord Christian, slides off Christian, and is dropped in there as he's hit by number 76, Ted Watkins. A 41-yard kick, and the lateral movement meant that there was no return on the play, so it is now 1st and 10 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the ball is on the 49-yard line. That is the Hamilton 49. 21 forward is to the right. Lancaster gives to George Reed, and Reed is piled up over the 50-yard line, reaching for the 49. A gain of very close to 5 yards on the play. Those Hamilton Tiger Cats expected to see a lot of Reed today, and they got their first look at him in the very first play, Gene.
John, we saw an awful lot of Reed in Calgary. Of course, he was the one that gained some 201 yards in 35 carries in that final game in that series last week against the Calgary Stampeders. Terrific inside running attack.
Second down, 5 to go for the Riders on the Ticat 49. Lancaster is hit and dropped. Big loss as he is knocked down back on the 53-yard line by John Barrow and Ron Brewer. Lancaster was trying to get deep. He had Campbell, the short man, Buchanan, the long man. And as he tried to wait for Buchanan to get clear, he cocked his arm once but waited too long. And as a result, he was thrown for a loss. A 9-yard loss. And so Tommy Grant will go back along with Ted Page as the receivers on the Hamilton 20. Alan Ford kicking from the Saskatchewan 37. Got it on one bounce, but he got it away. Tommy Grant on the 21. Knocked down by Wally Dempsey. Shot up and went again and is hit by Jack Abenchan, and he is driven out. Just at the 25-yard line. 37-yard kick. A 4-yard return. And so the ball will be 1st and 10 for Hamilton on the Hamilton 25.
John, on a punting situation, we'll find number 68, Angela Mosca, lined up directly over the center and try to pound him, naturally trying to get a bad snap. On that case, we could see the effect of Angela Mosca's big thumping on Ernest.
Joe Zuger back to throw. There's that sideliner. Good to Davia. Cuts into the 45 and keeps going to the 49-yard line. And Wally Dempsey came up to make the tackle. 24 yards was the length of the game. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats as they start to roll that fullback out of there, make him look like a blocker, then they throw to him. Zuger with the option. He flips to Bethia, and Bethia spins off and is stopped by Bruce Bennett on the 55. That gain is 5.5 yards. Willie Bethia. Willie Bethia, who scored 6 touchdowns, averaged 5 yards a carry this season, was second in the East in rushing. No score early in this Grey Cup game. Hamilton is moving the ball from their own 25. Bethia goes in motion. No pass in there again to the 45-yard line, and that's the game. Bruce Bennett comes up to save the day as Tommy Joe Coffey is stopped on the 43-yard line. The gain is 13 yards. At the 3-minute mark of the first quarter, the score is Saskatchewan nothing, Hamilton nothing. Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have come out throwing and have moved the ball to the Saskatchewan Roughrider 42-yard line. These two clubs have not met in the Grey Cup since 1932. Hamilton won that one 25-6. The draw to Bethia. He gets over the 40 into the 38-yard line before he is driven back. His gain is 4. And again, it was Ted Dushinsky and Bruce Bennett. Little Bruce Bennett, not one of the big men in the defensive backfield, made All-Star in the Western Conference, and he's shown early today why he has earned that spot, Gene.
And also, John, I was talking with Jack Goda before the game, and he has nothing but complete praise for Willie Bethea. We can see some of his versatility, carrying that ball and catching it and blocking.
Joe Zucker, he can flip again. He flips the ball out there to Fleming, and Fleming makes a daring grab for what is very close to a first down as he was hit by number 77, Wally Dempsey. And you can see they're coming out with that little flip up and trying to spread those good Saskatchewan linebackers, and they'll call for the measure. It is short by inches. Now, what do you do in a Grey Cup game inches away? Gene Walashuk comes in from the bench for Saskatchewan. Dale West will come out, number 12. So Hamilton with Cepatelli at center, Danichuk 55 at left guard, Holman 57 at right guard, Kelly 54 at left tackle, Turner 66 at right tackle, with Coffey left end, Watkins right end. Here is Zucker on the sneak, and he's got it. This Hamilton club is coming off the ball much faster today than they have all year.
Hamilton's looking like a real sharp club out there today. Of course, they got the big break coming in here now on the 31-yard line, getting that first down, puts them in excellent position to get that field goal, possibly go in for the score, John.
The Tiger Cats are doing a good job of eating up the clock here in this first quarter, going into the wind. It's now 9 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Joe Zucker back to throw, looking for that long right zone to Fleming, and it is tossed there, and he does not have it. There's a flag on the play. Fleming and Costin called interference on the 2-yard line.
Watch number 24 on this play. Bobby Costin as he knocks into Fleming. There's a very definite interference call here, and it puts the Hamilton Tiger Cats in terrific position to go in for the score.
The fourth first down for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now, Garney Henley is going in. I rather suspect that Henley will go in as a decoy. They make you pay attention to him. And Alan Smith, the rookie, the mid-season rookie or late-season rookie, comes out. Matter of fact, the ball is on the 3-yard line, first and goal to go, and they try the sneak, and Joe Zucker's in for the touchdown. Great call by Zucker. He sent everybody in motion left, and he went up the middle for the touchdown.
Behind some real fine blocking, Gene Cepatelli leading the way. Joe Zucker goes in for the first score in this 1967 Grey Cup.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats marched 85 yards in 8 plays for the touchdown against the wind. Tommy Joe Coffey is waiting to tie up the boot. Now, Coffey was good on 20 out of 26 converts this season. And this thundering roar going overhead. It must be jets up above the clouds. We can't see them. Now we're set to go with Zucker holding and Coffey kicking. And it is good. Tommy Joe Coffey in his second Grey Cup. Back in 1960, he was with the Edmonton Eskimos when they were beaten by the Ottawa Roughriders. So the Hamilton Tiger Cats are trying to break the image of being a defensive club, primarily a defensive club. They've come out with a good show of offensive power, a good variety of offense. And as a result, they now lead. They have that big score, 7-0 over Saskatchewan. Joe Coffey just making sure that ball is set up just right. And for Saskatchewan, it's going to be Alan Ford, number 21 at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and Ed Buchanan, number 25, the other receiver. Good kick into the wind. It's going to bounce to Buchanan. Buchanan is hit on a flying tackle by that great young rookie, number 72, Gord Christian, a 210-pound tackler of the Demon variety. 50-yard kick and a 10-yard return.
I think the Saskatchewan Roughriders, John, are still going to try to establish that inside running, and possibly if not that, they'll move into play-pass action, faking that read play inside that's been so very, very much effective, and throw the pass to Barwell or Campbell.
Ernest at center with Tamian at right guard. Evan Chan at left. And there's the handoff to George Reed. He breaks into that 35 and into the 39-yard line before Bill Riddell comes up to bring him down. That gain was 14 yards. George Reed.
If they don't find it up the middle, they're going to find it some other place, John. Going off tackle, no doubt finding a hole with that over-shifting defense that the Tiger Cats are showing against the Saskatchewan Roughriders this afternoon.
First and 10, Saskatchewan on the Saskatchewan 39. Keeping both ends in this time, and they fake the read, and here is the rush. The long pass down there to Buchanan, and he does not get it. Buchanan was well in behind. Well in behind Barry Hansen.
That's exactly what we were talking about a little while ago. And using that play-pass action, Eddie Buchanan, with his tremendous speed, gets behind the defender here and almost catches the ball.
That'll make it second down and 10 to go. And the interesting thing is here how close the Hamilton rush is coming to Ron Lancaster on every one of those deep passes. And Bob Krause, number 14, a young rookie, and I say a young rookie, he's been with the club 5 years, but he hasn't seen that much regular action actually until this year. The wind is now listed officially at 14 miles an hour. Lee Campbell wide to the right. Reed sets out to the left. To stay in there to block for Ron Lancaster. And there's that pass at the flag of the play. Buchanan is wide open. He is
Eddie Buchanan having his difficulties here, John. Once again, he's completely in the clear. The ball right in his arms, and he drops it. That's the second one in a row for you. However, there is a flag on the play. You pick it up, John.
Grabbing the face mask going on. Fans here are decked out in just a glorious array of color and regalia from all over Canada. The temperature is 26 degrees. First and 10, Saskatchewan on their own 54. They get to George Reed, who ran into Ted Ernest, his center blocker. He kind of half slid off him for a gain of 4. Angelo Mosca, number 68, the defensive left tackle, was hit and moved sideways, but was able to hold on long enough to stop the gain at 5.
I think we'll notice this afternoon that the Saskatchewan Roughriders will be going at big number 68 out there, Angelo Mosca. They don't consider
Lancaster dropping back farther this time. The pass in there is good to George Reed to the 44-yard line, and that's good for a first down. Smokey Stover, the middle linebacker, made the stop. Down to Bill Bewley at the field.
Johnny, on Joe Zucker's quarterback sneak for the touchdown, he had to pay the price for it. He's had his nose rebroken. Dr. Carter has fixed it up. He assured us it's okay again, but Joe is obviously under some pain down at the field level.
Thank you, Bill. Now we're on the 43-yard line. First and 10, Saskatchewan. Lancaster, look at the rush on him now. He throws long down there. It's intercepted by Garney Henley. Chased by Buchanan. Trying to get some footing, and Wally Dempsey knocks him down on the 19-yard line.
Garney Henley on his own defense sets himself back and catches the football without any trouble at all. The Saskatchewan team as well as the Hamilton team, consider Garney Henley as the finest defensive back in the country. Here's one of the reasons why.
Great flying tackler by Big Clyde Brock stopped Garney Henley from getting a good bit of footing to turn upfield. And you could see, even though he was wearing the running shoes, that he did have trouble getting his footing there. So with the first interception of the ball game, it is 1st and 10. Hamilton on the Hamilton 20. Zuger with that little screen. Good over here to Bethia. And he is hit by Gemelli, slides off in, keeps going, and finally slipped and fell as Dushinsky drove him out on the 29-yard line.
You can get a lesson on how to run a screen pass on that particular one. Number 16 played it beautifully. I think it takes an awful lot of acting in there, John, in order to affect a real good screen, and that's what we saw that time.
Well, they've come out throwing to Willie Bethea. He only caught one touchdown pass this season. He's used primarily as a ball carrier. He made 147 trips overland, but they've come out throwing on those fullback screens and draws. There are delays to him today. Take some of that heat off. The way this game has started out, it's going to be a battle of Willie Bethea versus George Reed.
And John, they tell me that this fella has a tremendous amount of durability. Joe Rustic told me that he's been playing injured most of the year, but he doesn't do any complaining at all, just sticks his nose in there.
Well, they're inches away from being first down, about 6 inches, I would say. Five minutes and 38 seconds remaining in the first quarter, 7-0 as they come in with a sneak to the 30-yard line for the first down. Hamilton over Saskatchewan. Now the clock shows 5:28 remaining in the opening quarter. Well, Joe Zuger has his nose reset and gave it a very good test right there in that quarterback sneak. I think that you might suspect that an errant Mr. Elbow might find it towards Joe's face mask if they knew or found out quickly that it was broken again. Zuger gives now to Smith, trying to utilize his speed, and he is caught by Wayne Shaw, the all-star linebacker on the left side, number 50. 41st Grey Cup, as Hamilton leading 7-0. Hamilton is in their 10th Grey Cup since 1950. Tommy Grant, 18 to the bottom of your screen. Tommy Joe Coffey, the left end, is split off 10 yards. Zuger goes back to throw, and it's in there to Bethea again. Bethea is hit and dropped on the 39-yard line. Coming up there to get him was number 27, Ted Dushinsky, along with Wally Dempsey. That'll make it third down, about a yard and a half to go. Dean Malashuk and Bob Cossett are back to receive for Saskatchewan at the Saskatchewan 35. Zuger goes for a high snap and got it away. The ball bounces to Cossett, and he had to make sure he got that handled. And I noticed that Henry Dorsch almost hit the kicker, Joe Zuger, but he held him up to make sure he wouldn't be called for roughing the kicker. 35-yard kick and a 3-yard return. In the only meeting between these two clubs this season, Saskatchewan won a hair-raising 22-21 victory over Hamilton. Campbell goes to the bottom of your screen. Lancaster looking deep again. Here's that long one to Campbell, and he is intercepted by Bobby Richardson. Richardson now trying to get some interference. Tremendous block downfield that knocked Hugh Campbell right out of the play and allowed Bobby Richardson for a 39-yard return on that interception. Second interception of the ball game, both by Hamilton. The rough play call is against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 54-yard line, the 15-yard penalty. And so we now have 3 minutes and 19 seconds remaining in the quarter. Hamilton in possession on their own 54. Coming off the ball very rapidly. Zuger rolling. He is caught back at the line of scrimmage. First of all by Ken Reed, number 58. Secondly by 41, Ron Atchison. At the 12-minute mark of the first quarter, the score is Hamilton 7, Saskatchewan nothing. Zuger has completed 4 out of 4 for 53 yards so far. Lancaster has completed 1 out of 5 passes for 9 yards, and he has had 2 intercepted. Now we have Garney Henley coming back into the game along with Joe Zuger, the quarterback, who was on the sideline talking to Ralph Fazio. Fleming comes out, number 21. A second down and 12 is the situation, and Hamilton is on the Hamilton 52. Henley right, Grant left. Saskatchewan trying to get that rush in there, and the pass is knocked away by Ted Wyszynski. He read it properly and stepped right in front of Watkins, but he could not pick off the pass.
He's done this before on that particular formation, the double wing setup for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This is obviously a passing situation, and no doubt the Saskatchewan defense was anticipating it. Ted Wyszynski tried to step in front of that ball, almost picked it off, and it could have been long gone for him, and touchdown for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, they had an amazing 9 interceptions against the great Calgary club in that Western final. Zuger kicked high into the wind. Woloschuk waits for him. Oh, and he is wrestled back there by big Gord Christian, but his forward point of advance was the 18-yard line. And that'll get Saskatchewan the ball with the wind, first and 10. A 41-yard kick and a 1-yard return. 2 minutes, 31 seconds remaining in the opening quarter, and it is 7-0 for Hamilton. Hamilton is a club that had only 3 times 20 points scored against it this season, and all by Western clubs. George Reed, and nobody there, has to find a new route. Look at this, Boyd Price. What a great fullback as he goes to the 29-yard line for 9 yards, maybe enough for the first down. Tackle was
He's fine a bit of running if you want to see any plays, John. Actually, that time, the play was designed to go off tackle left. Notice here as it's piled up as George Reed changes, looks around, and finally picks up 9 yards for the Saskatchewan team. Tremendous individual effort there.
How many of those 305 carries this year were of that variety when the play should have been stopped?
An awful lot of them, John. We saw George Reed do some miraculous things out west this year.
The ball is right on the 29-yard line. First down, Saskatchewan. 2:02 remaining in the opening quarter. Sellout crowd of 31,500 here at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Lancaster sets Campbell and Buchanan both to the left, and they give to Alan Ford, and Ford is going to get 4 out of it, but no more, because he was piled up in there by John Barrow, the 11-year veteran, and by number 35, Ron Brewer, a 10-year veteran. This is his first year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the first time he's ever been in a pro championship, but you know, he was at one time a fullback for the Parkdale Lions when they won the Canadian Junior Championship 10 years ago. Second down, 6 to go for the Green and Whites from Saskatchewan on the 33. Here comes Buchanan in motion with Ford. Here's a toss, a quick kick. And they catch the Hamilton Tiger Cats napping. Ball going back as Henley watches the ball roll right into the end zone. Picks it up in the end zone, and is he going to try to run it? Yes, he is. But when he quickly sees that he is not going to go too far, he is wrestled down by Huey Campbell, and that is very close to 84 yards. 84 yards is the length of that quick kick.
He's done that before, too, John. We've seen him earlier this year with a quick kick that covered some 80 yards. That just goes to show you the great versatility that Alan Ford has in that backfield. Runs, blocks, catches passes, and kicks that ball well.
The reason they did that, of course, is because they have 54 seconds left on the clock. They would have been going into the wind had they not been able to move the ball on that sequence, as they knew that the time was running out on them. So it is now a 7-1 ball game, and Hamilton has the ball on their own 25. Bethia goes in motion. They give to Smith, who is caught back there on a great blitz by Ron Atchison, number 41. A great 16-year veteran of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who somehow moved those on the left side of that line as he snuck in there. Who did he beat in there, Gene?
Actually, Ron Atchison, some 16 years in the Canadian Football League, has come up with some real spectacular plays, and on that one, no doubt he saw the big hole, the big gap, he shot it, and was able to drop the Hamilton men for a big loss. He says he's going to play till he's 40 years old, too, John. Having problems on the field, actually.
One of the overly exuberant fans is now being chased down the field. He ran out and stole the ball from scrimmage and threw the ball up into the crowd, and some of Ottawa's finest go out to grab him and take him off the field.
If he Ken Reed tripped that time, I wonder if he'll get a penalty on it.
Ball is back on the 18-yard line, second down and 18. And they go to the middle here with Bethia. There's a flag on the play. Bethia keeps driving into the 26-yard line. Wally Dempsey, number 77, is in there to make the stop. Gun sounds to end the first quarter. Some question about whether the penalty will force the delay of the start of the second quarter, or whether it will make it the end of the first quarter. Referee Harry Ross talking to Joe Zuger. Here's the illegal motion call against Hamilton, and it has been declined. So at the end of the first quarter, the score is Hamilton 7, Saskatchewan 1, and we'll have more CFL action after this word from our sponsor. It'll be third down, 8.5 yards to go. Saskatchewan had 4 first downs in that opening quarter. Hamilton had 5. Zuger kicking from the 12. Good kick to Cossett, 24. And Cossett beat that first flying tackle there by Christian, and that's only happened a couple of times this year. But Ted Watkins, a great downfield tackler and one who has made many on this very turf, was in there to make sure he didn't come back. 43 yards the kick, 3 yards the return. Hamilton had 8 yards rushing, net that is, in the opening quarter. Saskatchewan had 37. Hamilton completed 4 out of 5 passes for 53 yards. Saskatchewan 1 out of 5 for 9 yards. 2 interceptions both by Hamilton. Saskatchewan first down on the 43. They give to Reed as he breaks into the middle of the 51-yard line. Dave Veedy, number 70, the defensive left end, was in to make the stop. And now, because it is second and short yardage, they send in extra blockers. Carfin goes in along with Henry Dorsch. 71 Barwell, 25 Buchanan come out. Second down, 1.5 yards to go for Saskatchewan. Ford, Reed, and Dorsch. And Brewer lines up right opposite the center. They hand off there to George Reed. Now, Reed was hit by Brewer, and this is very close to a first down. See what happens to Brewer as he lines up right opposite the center.
Ron Brewer right up over the center, working on Tetternest, and effectively stops Reed's plunge there. I think it's just about a half yard short of the first down, John.
Now, if they elect to gamble on 3rd and 1/2 yard to go, Ralph Fazio is not going to gamble. He's putting in his biggest men with Kelly, Turner, and John Holman going in. So it is third down and a foot and a half to go. Ron Lancaster went underneath, and I believe he has enough there for the first down. The Hamilton line seemed to rise, expecting a quarterback sneak straight up, but he went underneath.
Ron has done that on several occasions this year, and I noticed also that he is wearing running shoes, and that time he slipped a bit. It is the first down for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. However, there's some of the backs that are wearing their normal cleats out there. I noticed George Reed before the game testing it, and George is heavy enough, I believe, to get enough traction with his normal cleats. However, there are a lot of other receivers using the running shoes, John.
It'll be 1st and 10 Saskatchewan on the Saskatchewan 54-yard line. Ford goes in motion. They give to Reed, and Reed is caught by number 25, Smokey Stover. Stover did a fine job of breaking the interference on number 53, Abensham, the guard, who was leading the blocking, and the gain is 3. Just a shade less than 3. You know, 2 records have already been established with Tommy Grant, and he's in there for his 9th year. That is, at least as his 9th Grey Cup appearance. 2nd down and 7. Saskatchewan. Laughlin's rush is on. There's the pass, and it is not near anybody.
I think he's just trying to get rid of it that time, John. Eddie Buchanan, no doubt, was not in the pattern at all, and he wasn't expecting the pass.
Eagle Keys and Jack Goda conferring on the side. Now, this Hamilton defensive line, Laughlin at right end, Beatty at left end, shifts now into an 8-man line on this 3rd and 7 kick. Alan Ford gets a low snap, and he gets it away. It rolls by Grant. Page picks it up, and there's a no-yard penalty call. Now, the Saskatchewan Roughrider players tried to get back out of that zone, and maybe the footing didn't help get them out of there in time. At any rate, the no-yard penalty is called.
No, John, they were slipping and sliding all over the place trying to get out. However, they were well inside the zone, and we saw the penalty ensued.
John Barrow is also playing in his 9th Grey Cup out of 11 years in Canadian football. 1st and 10, Hamilton. Zuger back to throw in the middle, and it is to Fleming. No good, and Bruce Bennett, the man covering, knocked Fleming back, but the ball was well over his head. I see that this is the greatest number of photographers I've ever seen along the sidelines at a football game. Now, they brought out more police because we could be going for an open record of people running onto the field and stealing footballs. Gordy, what is that record?
John, notice Garner Extran going out now. As we all know by now, he's injured. He's got a pulled hamstring muscle, replaced by number 16, Dorr.
It is 2nd and 10 for the Tiger Cats on their own 33. The rush is on Zuger, and he's caught. Wayne Shaw went over top. Ken Reed had come in from the right side.
In a situation like that, John, when we see doors going there, it's usually a sign of a blitz. And that's what we saw that time. Very effective.
Watch on the replay. Both blitz coming from both sides. Reed from the right and Shaw from the left. And as Joe Zuger ducked to try to get underneath both of them, which he did, he'd also lost his balance. So Zuger now kicks with the wind. He had an average of 45.8 this season. And there's one that's better than his average. He's got the wind and gets a good one to the 30. Gene Walashuk, the all-time punt return champion of the CFL, stopped by Bill Danichuk, a Niagara Falls product, to learn this football at Tennessee. 54-yard kick and an 8-yard return. At the 4-minute mark of the second quarter, the score is Hamilton 7 and Saskatchewan 1. $1,250 to the winning member of each football team here in this 41st annual Grey Cup Championship. It is a 1st and 10, Saskatchewan, and Saskatchewan is on their own 35. They're down 7-1 to the Eastern champion Hamilton Tiger Cats. Back into the center to George Reed as he is tripped up at the line of scrimmage, but still managed to get 5 yards out of it. Ralph Stasio paid the supreme compliment to George Reed. He said, well, we're going to concede him 100 yards. There's no way you can stop him with less than that. And then we just have to go and get those 100 yards back. Billy Ray Loughlin made the tackle here on George Reed on the 40. 2nd down and 5 to go. And here's Lancaster rolling. He's trying to get Barr well deep. He's covered by Henley, and it is knocked away by Garney Henley. Fine job of defense by Garney Henley on Barwell.
We anticipated this type of bootleg action from Ron Lancaster. Watch here as Barwell tries to get in the clear, almost does, and we just about see an interception from Garney Henley.
So that'll make it a 3rd and 5 punting situation for Saskatchewan. Alan Ford, who averaged 38.5 yards a kick this season, goes into the wind. It's an end-over-end ball, hoping for the bounce, and he gets it. Teddy Page, hit by Jim Carfin. Fine tackle. Wally Dempsey, number 77, in there to help him out. Ted Page, who had 3 years with Montreal, then 3 years with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He returned 74 punts in regular season play and 5 yards in every one of them. 35-yard boot, 4 yards this return. 1st and 10 for the Tiger Cats. Bethia comes in motion. Here's going to be a pass from Ed Turek. They're trying to get Fleming down deep. It could be picked off. Oh, it is no good. Ed Turek, the Kitchener-Waterloo product, via Edmonton. See how he does it.
Fleming almost had this football. He's one of the fastest men on the Hamilton Tiger Cat team. Watches Turek, steps back and throws to him. Just about holds on to this ball. Cosset almost tries to defend on him, but Fleming just about holds on to it. Could have been a completion, John.
West and Cosset were both back with Bennett. Looked like one of them was going to pick it off. Here's Zuger looking for that left side, and the pass is good to Watkins. He's wide open. Could go all the way. Ted Watkins is gone for the touchdown. 71 yards. Ted Watkins. What a triumphant return to his own park.
The coaches have been pretty happy to get a hold of this fella. Watch him on his quick down the middle pass. Just gets a hold of it and runs all the way for Hamilton's 2nd touchdown.
Watkins has caught 3 touchdown passes during the season. Tommy Joe Coffey is trying to get a kicking boot on, wearing running shoes for the regular playing of the game, and then has to get his kicking boot on for the extra point. This Prime Minister having a great day today. Do a little quarterbacking from up in the Royal Box. There's a fan on the far side says, we're believers in Joe Zuger. Well, Joe, it took you a long time to make him believe, but there's no doubt about it now. 13-1 is the score. And it's in there.
Joe Zuger's doing a fine job of picking apart that Saskatchewan secondary, John. What they're doing is sometimes going back in a 3-deep secondary and other times going with a 4-man secondary. On that particular pass pattern, with Watkins catching the ball, they actually split that zone. He was wide open in the gap and had no problem going all the way.
14-1 is the score. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, who weathered the storm in the opening quarter, that is to say, against the wind. And Now come back to add one. And the receivers for Saskatchewan, Ford and Buchanan. Buchanan, number 25. Ford, 21 to your left. A kick by Coffey. He gives us a ride to Buchanan. Going to the right side, looking for some blocking help. And Dave Beatty. Actually, Beatty was the only man in that zone to get to Zuger, or at least to Buchanan. 69-yard kick and a 20-yard return. And had he not hit him there was a good 20 or 30 yards more to be had.
And of course, Eddie Buchanan's got the speed to break it all away. He's looking for a real big play in the series. Very instrumental last year, John, if you can recall, against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a 70-yard romp.
Now Saskatchewan down 14-1. And they may be forced to open up earlier than they had anticipated. George Reed goes inside. That whole Hamilton line is looking for him. His gain is just a little bit less than 4.
Notice a fantastic amount of defensive alignment with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They're moving Mosca all the way around. Sometimes they have him on the nose of the center, and they move him all the way over to the left, some 12 or 15 feet.
Here's Lancaster tripping and falling, and he's dropped back on the 6-yard line.
Fine play by number 15, Page here, as he just gets a hand on Lancaster, drops him for some 10-yard loss, puts the Saskatchewan Roughriders way back on their 7-yard line.
Looks like he hurt his left hand, too, as he comes off the field. Lancaster has now been thrown for losses twice, for 9 yards and now 12 yards. And now they are forced to punt into that wind. And Hamilton, with a 14-1 lead, are playing their receivers, Grant and Page, up on the Saskatchewan 30-yard line. They'll be in great field position, all things being equal after this punt. Grant on the 35 is grabbed there by number 76, Carpin, kind of half spun off him. And then Brock, 67, and 54, Brandt came down to pull him down on the 35. So that was a 28-yard kick and a 1-yard return. Hamilton Tiger Cats back in possession on the 35. They lead 14-1 in this Grey Cup championship halfway through the second quarter. Zuger back to throw. Getting good protection. There's a long pass to Fleming in the end zone. No good. Saskatchewan has 3 defenders back there, Cossid, West, and Bennett. But the pass was too long. And let's see if something did happen down there at that Regina bench. Bill?
The selection of footwear appears to be a problem for both teams still, Johnny, and the running shoes that most of them selected at the beginning of the game are starting to tear apart with the tough hitting in that very hard field, and one by one they're going back to the standard cleats.
Second down, 10 to go on the 35-yard line. Zuger fakes the toss. He's going to be throwing if he gets time, and he gets the ball away. It is no good. Tommy Grant, 12-year veteran, did not hold on. Saskatchewan came close to intercepting that one.
Putting the big rush on this play, John, was the lineman of the year, number 61, Ed McQuarters, but the pass does not go completed at all. Actually, there was pretty well defended down there.
Well, that Woloshik and Cossid, they'll go back to receive. There you see in the corner of your screen the new sections of stands that were added. They added 3,800 seats here. And you wait for Tommy Joe Coffey to get that shoe of his on, and he's going to try a field goal from the 42-yard line, a 3rd and 10, unless they decide to throw since they're up 14-1. That could go all the way to the dead ball line for a single point. just takes that last little flop over, and Wallachuk ducks as number 75, Tommy Joe Coffey, went sliding right by. So they get a single point out of it. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders now find themselves trailing by 2 converted touchdowns, and the clock shows officially 6 minutes and 42 seconds remaining in this second quarter of this Grey Cup battle.
You know, John, I was talking with Ray Malavese. He said he'd have no problem with Saskatchewan. So far, it's been that way.
Hand off to Ed Buchanan, and they're trying to get some of that backfield rolling. He gets 5 out of it, stopped on the 30, but they have so far been contained very successfully. Dave Beatty, the left end. They're just trying to get both those ends, Beatty on the left side and Laughlin on the right, to go straight upfield to keep the Saskatchewan runners contained. In other words, nobody's getting outside on them. Now Barwell and Buchanan left, Campbell right. I've only thrown to Campbell once today. Lancaster back again. And there's a flag on the play. Lancaster is hit, gets up, and goes again to the 27-yard line. But let's see what this flag is about. They had Buchanan down deep, but he was so well covered by Barry Henson that he had no opportunity to throw. A holding penalty against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Now the cheers, which seem to favor the Saskatchewan Roughriders early or before the game, and possibly as a result of the popularity of Ron Lancaster here, now seems to be evenly divided between the two teams. That'll make it first down Saskatchewan on the 40, and I think that the 2 touchdowns that Saskatchewan was behind to Ottawa last year at about this stage is setting in their minds at this stage, figuring they can still come back, as they did then. George Reed into the middle, caught there by Smokey Stover and the left tackle, Angelo Mosca. They're having not too much success with both Abinchan and Atanian to get that inside interference opened up. So what Reed is making in there, he's practically making on his own.
John, I can't understand why they're not going for a little more short passes. They haven't been able to establish that inside running game yet.
Lancaster now back. Here's that long one down there to, it could be... Hugh Campbell was so well covered by Bobby Richardson and by Bill Riddell. And that's the 8th pass attempt by Lancaster. He has completed only 1. That was for 9 yards. That's the type of play right there that Lancaster and Campbell were so successful with in establishing records last year, when Lancaster was doing a lot of rolling and Campbell was having an opportunity to beat a lot of people. But he stayed to primarily I guess you'd call it a semi-roll this year, and Campbell didn't have time to beat a lot of people. 3rd and 8. Eddie Page. Hit by Dempsey and brought down on the 44. Cade Page is shaken up on the play. A 25-yard kick and a 1-yard return. To 1 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats over Saskatchewan. Four minutes and 22 seconds in the first half. That'll put the ball right on the 44-yard line, and it is now 1st and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Coming off there very quickly, Fleming rolling left. He's got Bethia doing a block for him, and he is pulled down by Ted Dushinsky, who grabbed him around the ankle after a gain of 5. Eagle Keys in his 15th year of Canadian pro football. 4th year as the head man at Saskatchewan, trying to find the answer against this Hamilton club today. They fake the toss, and then he doesn't have time to turn and run with it as he had intended to do, as Wayne Shaw hit him, along with number 79, Don Gerhardt. That's the left end and left linebacking combination. That'll make it 3 and 7. They're down and 7. Now, there was just a little quick look at how deep downfield and how open Fleming was had Zuger had a chance to throw. Cossid goes back with Woloshuk. Zuger will kick from his own 33. 3.5 minutes to go. A high snap. Oh, and that is partially blocked at the line of scrimmage. It's taken by Ken Reed. And Reed now turns and is brought down by Gene Cepitelli. Watch this one again.
There's a big break for the Saskatchewan Roughriders as number 50, Shaw, blocks the kick. And Ken Reed catches it, puts the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the 47-yard line.
Now Saskatchewan is trying to take advantage of that break that they created for themselves on the 47. That is the Hamilton 47. They go to the middle with Reed, and Reed is hit head on. Took a tremendous jolt in there from Angelo Mosca. And at the 12-minute mark of the second quarter, the score is Hamilton 15 and Saskatchewan 1. And so the ball is on the 45-yard line. It'll be second down and 8 to go, Saskatchewan. George Reed has carried 11 times for 58 yards. Now they set their flankers wider. Then Reed in motion. Lancaster throws in the middle, and it is no good. They were intending to throw to Reed there. And Bob Krause had him too well covered. Lancaster is unsuccessful in passing in this second quarter. He's 0 for 4.
The hard ground is very definitely having adverse effects upon the receivers, John. On that particular occasion, number 21, Alan Ford, just slipped and fell on that pattern. I'm sure that he might have been the principal receiver.
Ford is kicking from the 50. Back in there is Garney Henley on the 13, and he's got that tremendous getaway speed. There he goes to the 35, and Henry Dorsch takes him to the sideline. See how he does that so well.
A great burst of speed here by Garney Henley. Watch him just take off and leave these Saskatchewan people behind. He's finally knocked out of bounds by Henry Dorsch, number 16 of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
It lines up as a net gain of 2. It was a 32-yard punt and a 2-yard return. How many things Garney Henley does so well? He averaged 10 yards on all his punt returns this season. First and 10 Hamilton. 2:09 remaining. Here's Zuger looking for some long ones here, and it is good to Willie Bethia. Oh, he drilled that one right at the numbers. Bruce Bennett, the safety man, number 30, made the stop. 20 yards was the length of the game. This is the best passing attack we have seen Hamilton unfold this year.
They're pretty well taking advantage of that inside area that is open from time to time. Willie Bethia having excellent hands, getting in the open without any problem.
Zuger this time to Alan Smith, and Smith saw that hole close on him as he got to the 45. Ed McWaters and Ron Atchison, the tackles, closed it off. Smith, after a year with the Buffalo Bills, joined the Hamilton Tiger Cats for the final. The first time he handled a football in Canadian play, he went for the touchdown. Second down, 7 for the Tiger Cats. Grant left. Here comes Zuger back on a quick kick. And they're trying to get the point that'll separate them by more than 2 converted touchdowns, and Bennett will concede a single point. So that'll now make it 16-1. 64 yards was the length of that quick kick by Joe Zuger. His 7th punt of the ball game. We have 1 minute and 24 seconds remaining. Saskatchewan Roughriders, a team that played 4 playoff games, had to beat Edmonton. And then that rugged 3-game series against the Calgary Stampeders. Hamilton had 2 games against the Ottawa Roughriders. Lancaster gives to George Reed as they try to pop him off right tackle. But a hole opened up initially for about 3.5 to 4 yards, and then it closed off very quickly. Quite a battle going on out there, Gene, between number 67, the Saskatchewan right tackle, Clyde Brock, and Angelo Mosca, 68, the left tackle. Those 270-pounders are having a day.
There are a couple of real big horses out there. Probably combined close to 500 pounds.
2nd down and 7, Saskatchewan. Minute to go in the first half. Ed Buchanan does not make the first down. Try to disguise that a little bit as they sent George Reed, the fullback, in motion, and are unable to take advantage of Buchanan's speed simply because the Saskatchewan Roughriders have not been able to get outside with him. A 14-mile-an-hour wind when the game started, and it appears to be about the same. Ford gets a high one up there to Henley. Henley is stopped right on the midfield stripe by Jack Abenchan. And we have 20 seconds left. I don't know if I have ever seen in the past 20 years a football club that was better prepared than the Hamilton Tiger Cats were for that Ottawa Roughriders series, particularly the second game. And they have shown that today they are well prepared once more. Here's a quick kick by Joe Zuger. Fake. Now he's going to be throwing off it into the middle, and it is good to Ted Watkins. And Watkins is stopped on the 41. Bruce Bennett saw the fake quick, or at least he saw the quick kick coming. He ran back, opened up that safety zone, and they stopped him for a gain of 14. Here's a fast count coming off the ball because there's 2 seconds left on the clock. Now, they're going to be kicking here for at least a single. It'll be a single because I see Gord Christian going on. Now, they use him, of course, for his great downfield tackling ability and his speed. Gene Walashuk is in the end zone. I wouldn't even be surprised to see him hoof it back out of there to save a single point. It's the last play of the half. Here's the kick by Zuger. It comes down to Walashuk. Will he kick it back? No, he's going to try to run it out to save the point, and he is tipped in there for 1. Gene Cepatelli and John Holman were down there to make the stop, and the most significant factor in this ball game so far is the advantage that Hamilton has been able to take with the wind primarily, but the success that they had against the wind in the opening quarter. Now we're getting all set to meet a couple of stars of that first half. Getting ready now to go downstairs with Johnny Bassett and his 2 stars of the first half.
On the field with Garney, Henley, and George Reed. Fellas, George, you're wearing the cleats. Garney, you've got the running shoes on. We have a comment from both of you on how you're finding the shoes as compared to the field. Garney?
Well, of course, it's real slippery. I tried the cleats at the beginning before we were practicing, and I felt that they were a little too slippery, so I tried these. It's still slippery, but I feel it's a little better with these.
George? Well, I tried 3 different pairs, and I decided I'd go with the cleats, although it's a little slippery. I find that I'm more at home in them, and I can move just about as good. I can't help it. You're finding, despite the hardness of the field, that you're not having trouble cutting?
Not too much at all. I think anything you have on your shoes is going to slip, and I just feel like going to football shoes.
Gardy, you've picked off 2 interceptions so far, that deep defense. Are you playing zone or man-to-man?
Oh, we're playing a little both, actually. We're trying to mix it up a little bit.
Your specific responsibility, Campbell? It appears that way.
No, not necessarily. No, it's not. I'm going to both Barwell and Campbell.
Fellas, I know that you want to get in. Thank you for coming out, and good luck to you both in the second half. George Reed, Garney Hanley. The scores, Hamilton 17 and Regina 1. We'll continue with our Grey Cup halftime from Lansdowne Park after this word from our sponsor.
Well, there are 3 decisive statistics in that first half. One is Saskatchewan's big edge in rushing, Hamilton's big edge in passing, and on the scoreboard, Hamilton's big edge in the score. As you can see, the first downs are very close. Hamilton has 7, Saskatchewan 6. In yards rushing, George Reed has given Saskatchewan a big edge, 75 to only 13 for Hamilton, but Joe Zuger's passing has more than made up for that, 159 yards on 7 completions of 12 throws, and Saskatchewan 9 yards. Lancaster has completed only 1 pass out of 9. 2 of the 9 have been intercepted for good gains by Hamilton. Penalties, here we expected Hamilton would have an edge here, and they do. 4 for 40 yards, 2 for 39 yards against Saskatchewan, and 1 was that interference call. 1 fumble, Hamilton recovered it. Joe Zuger has a little edge in punting. He had 1 that only went 3 yards, while Alan Ford had 1 that went 84, and that has kept it close. No surprise here. George Reed is the top rusher, 61 yards on 12 carries. Willie Bethea has gained as many yards on 4 catches. And Ted Watkins, of course, is the leader with 2 catches for 85 yards, including that long one for a touchdown. So that is the statistical picture of the first half. And now back to our halftime show.
On the field with Jim Duncan, the fine assistant coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Jim, you'll have to open the game up a little bit now.
Yes, we will, John. We made a couple of mistakes defensively out there, and Hamilton certainly has a fine enough football team to take advantage of any mistake that you make, and that's, I think, it's a big difference in the ball game.
Well,
right
I know
now.
we're looking ahead to a great second half. It's a great comeback football club. They did it last year. Good luck to you in this second half.
Thank you so much, John.
Now let's get back upstairs to Johnny Eastoff.
So, the big crowd that has converged on our capital city from all across Canada. And it's great that one football game can mean so much to so many people. Weeks and weeks and months and years of planning for each one of them, and fans save and scrape and plan and gather, and then they all meet for the one big football game. And so it doesn't really matter that 16 points separate. Everybody is having a ball. It is 17-1 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats will take the win in the 4th quarter. Ronnie Lancaster, warming up on the sideline, probably has been given the word to start throwing short in the second half. That's why the U.S., when they invented the bomb, were afraid the enemy would get it. Ottawa invented the bomb in the Eastern Conference. Hamilton got it, beat them with it. Now they're starting to beat Saskatchewan with it. So we have Lancaster probably told to throw a little bit shorter in the second half to see if he can't start moving the Roughriders. Bethea and Smith go back to receive. And on a hop. Willie Bethea in his running shoes is met on the 25 and driven down on the 26. Wayne Shaw comes in to make the tackle. There has been a great number of long telegrams sent in from supporting fans to both of these football clubs, and they have been delivered to their dressing rooms. So a 56-yard kickoff, 17-yard return. Hamilton has the ball on the 26. Toss on the right side to Smith, and Smith is dropped on the 26. He just got back to the line of scrimmage. Ed McWhorter kind of drove him out. Had less than a yard on the play. Now let's see if Saskatchewan, as you see them defensively now, Ekstrand on the right corner with Atchison under a tackle with Dorsch. Number 17 comes out as a defensive right halfback. So he is in there, and Dyshinsky is on the left side. Tommy Grant sets to the bottom of your screen as you see the motion now. Saskatchewan may be called offside. There will be an offside call. There's the pass to Tommy Grant, and Grant takes it on the 41, 42-yard line, and had a good look at that one on the way in for 15 yards, but you must wait to make the penalty call official.
There's Tommy Grant on this one, John, as he runs the perfect sideline pattern, catches it just before he runs out of bounds.
Both teams being called offside, so the play will be nullified, and they'll do it all over again. Hamilton in the 5 years of Grey Cupping from 61 to 65, Saskatchewan from 28 to 32, the only two clubs that have been in for 5 consecutive years. Bethea and Smith to the left. Middle linebacker Dempsey comes out to cover Bethea. The pass is almost intercepted by Ron Atchison, and there is a flag on the play. A holding penalty is being called. We had Charlie Turner and Don Gerhardt in a bit of a go. I don't know who started it. It's Hamilton being called. Holding penalty is called, and it is taken back to the 16-yard line. Second down, 20 to go for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the 16-yard line. Tommy Joe Coffey is left. Grant is left. Fleming goes in motion. Here's the rush on. The pass is good to Bethea. Hit in there by Dorsch and Dempsey and pulled down. The ball is loose. Saskatchewan is recovered. But they whistle probably killed that play. Saskatchewan needs to get their hands on the football and go in for a score, because the next major score is going to certainly determine the course of this ball game. That'll make it third down and 16 yards to go for Hamilton on the Hamilton 20. Saskatchewan receivers on the 50 and 55. Good spiral kick taken by Woloschuk on the 50. Takes the flip out, pulls it back in, and he is driven out on the far side over there by number 76, Ted Watkins. Watkins, the 5-year veteran of Canadian football, 4 years with Ottawa, has good speed, a 200-pounder who can fly, 42-yard kick, and a 2-yard run back.
And the Saskatchewan Roughriders have the score here pretty quickly. We're looking for the short pass. They were very unsuccessful with the long one in the first half, and also trying along the ground. They were not too successful there. They've got to maintain control of that football. Got to go to the short pass.
Well, Hamilton has not given up a major in 5.5 football games now. Here's Lancaster back deep. Down to the middle. It's wide open to Buchanan. Buchanan breaks into the 35, into the 33. And Bobby Richardson, number 23, made the tackle.
There's the first long completion for Buchanan, who's on a wingback slot. We notice him at the top of the screen. Comes across the center, catches the football for a fine gain for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They go once again with the long pass.
In the first quarter, they were almost knocking Lancaster down in those passes. In the second quarter, he started to drop back deeper and faster to throw, as he did there. 1st and 10 on the 34. Reed slips and falls, gets up and makes his block anyway. Now Lancaster throws in there. It is no good. Buchanan was covered on the play. That'll make it 2nd and 10.
Utilizing Buchanan principally as a receiver here, John. I notice he's flanked out to the left and going down, either cutting up short on a hook pattern, a curl-type pattern, or trying to go deep.
Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders did a pretty good shopping job. They bought Ron Lancaster and Ed Buchanan and Ken Reed for less than $1,800 for the three of them. Now Lancaster has a rush from the blind side. Teddy Page. Nobody laid a hand on him. See how Page comes in home free.
Beautiful here. This looks like a lookout block. Watch Page, completely unmolested. Wham right into Lancaster. Big loss. Snuffed out the threat temporarily at least.
So the Saskatchewan Roughriders are now 3rd and 20 on the 45. They're down 17-1. 11 and a half minutes remaining in the third quarter. Jack Abanchan is trying for the field goal from well out. He's short. Onto the 2-yard line. Henley gets up to about the 14 and finds that he can't go any farther, and he steps out in the 14.
This guy's got fantastic speed, John. You don't really notice it until you see him try to change his pace there, as he did on Jim Warden. Jim was trying to angle in on him, and Garney just gave him a little twitch there for a moment and used that tremendous speed to his advantage.
Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have 15 ball players who weren't with them at this time last year. 6 of them who weren't with them on Labor Day. What a job Ralph Fazio has done. Quick pass in there, no good. And Senator Watkins and Wayne Shaw, the 6-year veteran linebacker from Saskatoon Hilltops, had a good bear hug on him. That'll make it 2nd down and 10 to go.
Hamilton's anticipating quite a few blitzes here, and no doubt Joe Zuger is looking for that quick pass, either throwing to his flaring or swinging men, trying to hit his ends on quick slant-in pattern.
11 minutes remaining in the third quarter, 17-1 for the Tiger Cats. Set wide to the right. Fleming and Grant. Zuger straight back. Now he looks for that right side, and it is intercepted. Here comes Bob Cosset, cutting back into the middle, looking for some blocking. Alan Smith grabs him and pulls him down on the trowel.
Well, Bobby Cosset to Johnny on a spot here as the ball slips right through Fleming, number 21. Here it is right here. Watch Cosset try to pick up some blocking and decided to go the other way. Finally, it's brought down by Smith.
And at the 4-minute mark of the third quarter, the score is Hamilton 17 and Saskatchewan 1. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the interception by Cosset are 1st and 10 on the Hamilton 11. Ford and Reed are the setbacks. And they give to George Reed, and Reed is tripped by number 15, Teddy Page. Went right over the top of him. And Ron Brewer came in number 2. So that gain is down to the 7-yard line, maybe the 8. It'll be a gain of 3. It is 2nd and 7. Saskatchewan has to get to the 1 to make this first down. Campbell and Buchanan left. Lancaster back to throw. And it's deep into the end zone. Intercepted back there by Bob Krause. And Hamilton gets themselves out of trouble, and they're back out on the 10.
Ronnie Lancaster in that particular pattern was looking for Huey Campbell. However, Campbell was extremely well covered by number 23 Richardson of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he actually slipped as well.
Lancaster is now 2 out of 12 in the passing department. And 9 minutes and 42 seconds remain in the third quarter. Hamilton has weathered that storm, the interception that got them into a bit of a hole. Now Tommy Joe Coffey splits to the bottom of your screen, wide to the left. Grant wide to the top. The field goes in motion. They give to Smith, and Smith turns that corner. There's a great block thrown down there as he went for 10 yards as John Holman, the big guard, number 57 from Wisconsin, one of the 6 post-Labor Day acquisitions, helped set up the play. Smith moved the ball to the 20. Toss to the right side to Bethia, and Bethia is partially submarined there by Henry Dorsch, number 16. And that gain is very close to 4 yards. I don't know how many football fans know who holds the record for the most touchdown passes thrown in Grey Cup competition. And if you guessed or remember Joe Kroll was 7, you were right. He, by the way, holds the all-time Grey Cup scoring record with 30 points in 7 appearances in the final, and he shares with Sam Echeverry the record of throwing 3 touchdown passes in 1 game. He tosses to Fleming, and Fleming is bottled in. Look at him fight to try to break that tackle, and he finally moves to the 25, maybe the 26. It'll be 3rd down as Dushinsky made the tackle.
Almost caught up that time by Ed McQuarters, number 61. Showed an example of the great speed that this man possesses for his huge bulk.
It is 3rd down and 4, and Hamilton will kick from the 12. Joe Zuger. It's a low one. He's a good kicker into that wind. Gene Walashuk, hit by Christian Watkins and Johnny Simba. Talk about kicking. The one Grey Cup record that has lasted for 58 years and may never be approached is the single game record for kicking single points in the first Grey Cup game. Huey Gall kicked 8 singles for the University of Toronto. Watkins comes off holding his right elbow. Saskatchewan on their own 53. Here's the toss on the right side to Reed, trying to get him outside. And he is upended on the 50. Bill Riddell got him there to drive him off. Barry Hansen was shaken up a little bit. The gain is good for 7. That big Hamilton defensive line has apparently cut off the inside on Big George there, Gene, so they're going to try to spin him out. Barwell and Buchanan come out, so they've gone into their short yardage blocking situation. Carfin the left end. Reed, Ford, and Dorsch. They're going to be throwing. There's the pass out there to Carfin, and Carfin is hit just as he got to the football, and actually he was driven away from the ball by Bobby Richardson. So it'll be 3rd down and 3. 7 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Hamilton is ahead 17-1.
Oh, John, you got to give an awful lot of credit to the defensive backs of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Actually, they were concentrating mostly and worrying mostly about Garney Henley, but it looks as if there are quite a few other real capable performers out there in that secondary.
Alan Ford kicking from his own 45. He's 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Tommy Grant on the 15. Gary Brandt slipped and fell, and Grant looked like he was almost going to get open there, but he was dropped on the 26. 35-yard kick and a 6-yard return. Roll that he sits down on the 25, so it is Hamilton 1st and 10. Reed, Atchison, McQuarters, and Gerhardt, the 4-man line. Now it's into a 6-man line as they try to stop Hamilton. Zuger back to throw. Down the middle there to Tommy Joe Coffey, too far. Zuger kept almost everybody back there. He sent Grant to the right. Coffey down deep, kept everybody else back in there to block for him to get that long one away. They figure if they can add one more here, they can blow the game wide open.
I think so, John. They're working on a one-on-one situation there with Dale West. However, Dale's got excellent speed, and it surprised me to see Tommy Joe get at least 2 steps on him.
Second and 10, Hamilton. There's the modified I formation. Here's Zuger. And the draw to Bethea. And Bethea moves over the 30 into the 32-yard line. Stopped there by Wayne Shaw. And he's going to be short of the first down by about 2.5 to 3 yards. There's 55 Danichuk, 54 Ellison Kelly, 44 Sepatelli at center, 66 Big Charlie Turner, Ohio University, and 76 Watkins is his right end. The punt blocking unit, Smokey Stover, comes in. Good one. Down to the 35. Here's Wallachuk. Gets away from Sepatelli, back into the middle, and then he is knocked down on the 37-yard line. John Holman is the tackler, number 57 for Hamilton.
Well, they like to punish that Wallachuk. He's got excellent hands. He's been returning punt for a number of years. He's probably his most valuable asset is being able to hold on to the football. But he does take an awful lot of punishment down there every time.
44-yard kick, a 4-yard return, and it is first down Saskatchewan as they go into a spread now, keeping George Reed as the only man in the backfield. He goes into block, and they throw in there to Warden, and that bounces away. Good call. The play was run right.
Looked like a pick pattern to me out there, John, but unfortunately for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Jim Warden did not look in time, and it looked as if the ball hit him on the helmet, because it bounced quite a way and almost was picked off by one of the Hamilton defenders.
Last year when Saskatchewan was down 14 points to Ottawa, they started to go to Warden, a good pass-catching tight end. And I wonder if they're trying to get to Warden to get him out of a hole again. 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the quarter, the third quarter. Hamilton ahead 17-1. Into the middle to Ed Buchanan. Buchanan is stopped by Ron Brewer, who hit him up high after Barry Hansen hit him low, and that'll be about a yard away. Smokey Stover in there to help out as well. It'll be third down, and there's about a yard to go. Will they gamble? They're going to kick with the wind. And the Western contingent here is second-guessing that call a little bit.
Looks like Buchanan might be hurting once again. In the series against the Calgary Stampeders, he twisted his knee, and actually before the game, he was limping quite a bit, and I understand they shot it right below the knee.
Alan Ford steps up to the 31-yard line. Henley and Grant back to receive. Grant will take this on the run. Spun off balance in there by Jim Carpin. And he didn't get any momentum, so he's dropped at the 29 by Jack Abinchan. They've done a pretty hefty taping job on Ted Watkins' arm there. Number 76, you might get a look at him there. They got a big pad on it, an elbow pad. Joe Zuger fakes the toss, and he throws down the middle, and it is no good. Intended there for Dave Fleming. Dale West injured his knee as he started to come for the ball. Looked like he twisted his knee. Had he not thrown himself off balance, he was in a pretty good position to pick that one off, Gene.
It certainly was. That ball definitely was overthrown, and Dale West was trying to get there as quickly as possible. Looked like he might have gotten cramps or just twisted a little bit.
This is the farthest the Hamilton Tiger Cats have been able to advance out of their own zone in this quarter, but by the same token, they have not allowed Saskatchewan to score, so they haven't been hurt by it. 2nd and 10, Hamilton. Zuger. Oh, that middle has opened up for him to throw, and it is no good. Tommy Joe Coffey. West out of there. Gene Wallachuk came in to cover, and Hamilton quickly went to Wolashuk's spot, figuring that he could be beaten.
Well, it appears as if Dale West must be injured. Gene Wolashuk is in there for his particular position. Little problem down there once again at the goalpost.
I tell you, if there was ever any doubt that the enthusiasm of Grey Cup fever was wearing off, you should have been trying to get sleep in one of these Ottawa hotels last night. I know I didn't. Just too loud. A low snap, and Zuger got it away in time. A dandy. Down to Wolashuk on the 35. Hit by Christian, spun off him, and then Bill Danichuk brings him down on the 36. Well, that Wolashuk is only 5'7". He might have been 6'1" at one time.
I think he almost was 4 feet that time. Christian wanted to take his head off, I think, John.
At the 12-minute mark of the third quarter, the score is Hamilton 17, Saskatchewan 1. And one of the many interested spectators here, Governor General Roland Michener and Mrs. Michener. Now Lancaster fakes. He's being chased by Beatty. Throws back to Buchanan wide open, but now he's one-on-one with Riddell, and he is dropped on the 50-yard line. And now we had an isolated situation with Buchanan on Riddell, and see how it looks again.
Buchanan out here wide open as Lancaster throws to the weak side. He's trying on a one-on-one situation, however, does not get beyond the defender.
So Buchanan picks up 14 yards as Lancaster tries to take away from the Hamilton strength. Hustle straight back. Look out. Dumps it in the middle in here to Alan Ford, and Ford is knocked down by Bob Trout. His forward point of advance was just about a 1-yard gain. He's trying to beat that big rush coming up with the screen.
Exactly. He's trying to dump it right in the middle there, and he's just getting that football away. On that particular occasion, I thought Ron Lancaster just might be dropped before he let that ball go.
A minute 53 remaining in the third quarter. 2nd and 9. Richardson comes out here to cover Campbell. And Lancaster is thrown for a big loss back on the 35-yard line. Beatty and Barrow and Page. Page was the first man in. There's a penalty on the play.
Once again, Page makes the big play here. Watch George Reed almost block him out, but not in time.
That big Hamilton rush was successful because it got off the mark in a hurry, and the offside was called against the Tiger Cats. So it'll be 2nd and 4 on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, 54. Now here's a whole flow to that left side of that Saskatchewan line, but the Tiger Cats were led by John Barrow in to break it up.
Watch George Reed here trying to move, trying to find an open spot, but that big defensive line, led by Billy Ray Laughlin, stops him for little or no gain.
Alan Ford kicking from his own 42. It's a dandy down to the goal line, taken by Garney Henley, 2 yards back. Hit by Jim Carpin and is dropped by Wally Dempsey on the 6th. Tiger Cats scored at the 6:02 mark of the opening quarter. Zuger in that 2-yard sneak for the touchdown, and then at the 14:06 mark, an 84-yard single by Alan Ford, and that quick kick got Saskatchewan onto the board for the only time. But in the second quarter, Hamilton came right back with a 71-yard pass and run to Watkins. That made it 14, and they've added singles to make it 17-1. This is the last half minute of the third quarter, and Hamilton is first down on their own 7. Smith and Bethia in here for Joe Zuger, and Smith takes the handoff into the 12-yard line for a gain of close to 4.5, maybe 5, and they unpile him. The 1-minute flag is up. Tommy Joe Coffey, been a big man for Hamilton this year. Here's Bethia rolling. Chased back there by Dorsch and tripped up by Henry Dorsch. That should end, and it does end the third quarter. A loss of 3. And at the end of the third quarter, the score is Hamilton 17, Saskatchewan 1. We'll have more CFL action after this word from our sponsor. I never envy the police at the Grey Cup games because they're job, of course, to keep people off the field, to protect the game, and they get the over-exuberant fans who run out there, and they have to go out and lug them off, and they get booed by the fans. Cossett and Malashuk will be back to receive. Each team has had 8 first downs in the ball game. Saskatchewan 95 yards rushing, Hamilton 37. Saskatchewan has completed only 4 out of 16 passes for 50 yards. Hamilton 8 out of 18 for 163. 3 interceptions by Hamilton, 1 by Saskatchewan. Joe Zuger deep in his own goal area to do the punting. It's a bit of a wobbler away. Cossett takes it on the hop. Cossett goes out on the 42-yard line. Each team has attempted 1 field goal so far, and neither has been successful. That was a 48-yard boot and a 14-yard return. Now Saskatchewan first down on the Hamilton 41. Lancaster has Reed and Buchanan, and they come back with the counter, and he does not get over the line of scrimmage. Ted Page, who certainly is one of the outstanding ball players here today. Ted Page.
Page certainly shows that he's a very, very sure tackler out there. Any time that you can stop Buchanan in that fashion, you know you're doing a pretty good job. And Ted Page has been doing an outstanding defensive job all afternoon.
Bill Riddell goes to the top of your screen. You see just at the top there to cover Hugh Campbell. Play is held up again as another fan runs onto the field. It is second down and 10 to go for Saskatchewan, and the referee, Harry Ross, had no alternative but to blow the whistle and call timeout. And the fans watch to see whether the player will run off the field, and he does. But the teams go back to the huddle again. And this can be unfortunate because it breaks the momentum of a ball club. Lancaster with a big rush on, steps into the pocket, throws in there to Warden. Now Warden gains 3 yards on the play. It'll be 3rd and 7 as Stuart Stover made the tackle. That's the second pass thrown to Warden, and he has completed 1. Grant and Henley go back to receive to the 5-yard line. Alan Ford will kick from his own 53. Alan Ford kicks to Henley on the 4, and he is stopped on the 5. Galen Wallmeyer in to make the tackle. 36-yard kick and a 4-yard return. When it looked as though Calgary I still reached the final, there was a lot of discussion about the value of an offense that was dominated by passing. Well, in 1955, Montreal passed for a record 508 yards against Edmonton, and the Eskimos passed for only 72, but Edmonton won that game 34-19. Hamilton first and 10 on their own 5-yard line. Thea goes in motion. They give to Smith, trying to turn that speed use that speed to turn the corner, and he doesn't make it. He doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Saskatchewan has certainly corrected the mistakes that they were making in the first half, Gene, but they just haven't been able to mount an offense to go with it.
They haven't been able to maintain ball control at all. I think that they're trying to go for that quick touchdown. They need it offensively. Defensively here, they're doing a pretty fair job. Number 16, Dorsch, is keying pretty well on the offensive backfield. The runner's back there. As you'll notice, he'll come in very quickly.
Quick kick by Joe Zuger, and going back is Volashuk. He smelled it just in time. He takes it on the run. He's got Tommy Joe Coffey looking for him, and he's got him by the scuff of the sweater and pulls him down on the midfield stripe. Watch Zuger now as he calls this quick kick.
Here's the quick kick now by Zuger. This is second one for him this afternoon. Wolajic trying to outrun number 75, Coffey. Has no luck here as Tommy just about tears his jersey off.
Hamilton, with the 17-1 lead, were content to get Saskatchewan out of their half of the field. Hamilton's defense goes into a 6-man line again. Now they're shifting all over. As you see, there's Brewer moving one step to the right. They go to the middle to George Reed, and Reed is stopped on the 51 for a gain of very close to 5 by Ron Brewer. Brewer certainly guessed right there, Gene. He stepped right into the hole to pull him down.
In a lot of situations like that, John, Lancaster will be using audibles, trying to explore some of those open gaps, those open areas in that line, and as soon as the audible is called, there's usually a defensive realignment. We saw it on that play.
Reed to the right, trying to get away from Krause, and he is thrown for a loss back there. The ball comes loose, and it is recovered by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, it would appear at this stage. So the Tiger Cats really smelled that pass option.
He certainly did. Watch George Reed here trying to turn a corner, but Bob Krause manages to get a hold of him, frees the ball, and Dave Beatty actually gets the fumble recovery, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats have the football on the 37-yard line.
Dave Beatty recovered 4 fumbles during the season, comes up with a big one here right now. So Saskatchewan has been reeled back to their own 37. Zuger back to throw. Lots of time. He's going for the long one, and it's into the end zone, and it is no good. Watkins could not hold on. Wolaschuk covering.
Watkins trying to get behind number 19, Wolajic here. Just about does it. Zuger has all day to throw. Watch here as number 19 knocks it down.
At the 4-minute mark of the fourth quarter, the score is Hamilton 17, Saskatchewan 1. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, who are 2nd and 10 on the Saskatchewan 37, trying to make it 6 games in a row without giving up a major score. They're ahead 17-1. Zuger back. Into the middle, it is no good. Bob Cossid tried to intercept and couldn't hold on. Bob Cossid, a Regina boy who went to Kentucky, had 5 interceptions during the season, and he had 3 more in the playoffs. Almost had number 4 there. Let's see what's happening down in that front wall now as these two clubs are banging head and head. Take a little isolated shot here to see really what's happening up front. Something is on the ground there, and referee Harry Ross is asking that they stomp it down, whatever it is. It'll be 3rd and 10. Joe Zuger is going to be booting for attempting a single here on 3rd and 10. Hostage slips and falls, and the ball goes right to the dead ball line. So that changes the score once more. A 62-yard kick by Joe Zuger. And it's now an 18-1 ball game. Lancaster almost tripped there. Now has to run to get out of trouble. Goes into the middle to Buchanan, and Buchanan now goes for a little run. He needs some protection here, so that sideline is opening if they can block Riddell out. Buchanan is pulled down on the 38-yard line.
That's one of the most fantastic plays of the afternoon. Ron Lancaster finally being forced to throw the football at Ed Buchanan. Washett here needs one block on Riddell, doesn't get it, and is finally thrown out on the 38-yard line. Tremendous pressure exerted on Ron Lancaster that time as Brewer over the center working on Tederness got in there, and it looks like Ted is coming out right now. It appears to be a bad knee, Johnny.
Yes, he's injured his knee, and Galen Wallmeyer goes in to replace him. So that 47-yard gain by Buchanan, and that puts the ball on the... Just on the 38, almost on the 38-yard line. So Saskatchewan is now 1st and 10. They're down 18-1. Lancaster gets to George Reed as he tries to pop off right tackle. He goes for very close to 6.
Probably the most effective defense against George Green and the fine running attack that Saskatchewan has shown all year has to be number 35, Brewer, going right over the center and working on Burnett. This time it's Galen Wallmeyer.
2nd and 4, the toss over here to Alan Ford, but he is boxed in and he is knocked down by Angelo Mosca. He lost, well, he might have got back just to the line of scrimmage, but there's certainly no gain on the play. They're going to rule a touchdown on the 34, so it'll now be 3rd down and 6. Well, with 9 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the ball game, they're down 18-1. It's up time where you start gambling. Ed Buchanan comes back in. And it's go for broke. Everybody is in motion right. Lancaster into the middle there, and it is good to Buchanan, and Buchanan is stopped on the 25, maybe the 23. Bill Riddell makes the stop.
This is the type of play that we thought we'd be able to see a little while ago. It's the typical curling pattern. Watch him curl right in front of Riddell here. Riddell tries to punch the ball out of Buchanan's arms, but Eddie was holding on to it.
Ball is on the 23, so it was his forward point of advance. And it'll now be 1st and 10 Saskatchewan. Ford comes out. Barwell splits right. Campbell is left with Dorsch. Pass to Dorsch. Dorsch now needs one block to get into that 20-yard line and couldn't do it. He was too well covered by Ron Brewer and by John Barrow. So it'll be a gain of 2.5. Second down, a little bit more than 7 to go. We have 8 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the ball game. 35 is Brewer, 61 Barrow, 68 Mosca, 50 Laughlin. Here's Lancaster rolling left. Caught in here now. Now runs away. Goes back into the middle to Huey Campbell, and Campbell is dropped short of the first down. Lancaster was hit by Dave Beatty
John, this looks like the Ron Lancaster goal of last year anyway. He's doing an awful lot of scrambling here. Watch here as he gets away from Mr. George, finally finds Huey Campbell, who makes the completion down to about the 14-yard line.
Well, Ralph Stasio now goes into his goal line defense, even though they're out on the 14-yard line, because it's 3rd down and 2 to go. He's got Vitti, Holman, Turner, Mosca, Kelly, Barrow, Richardson, and Lachlan all up on that line. He's into a 10-2. And they go to the middle. George Reed, they do not make it. Does not appear as though they made it. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats will take over. Campbell did not work.
Angela Mudge was pretty happy about that one. It's a pretty formidable-looking defensive line there, being able to stop George Reed, something that hasn't been done too often this year.
.7:35 remaining in the ball game as Hamilton leads Saskatchewan 18-1. Well, Saskatchewan has never beaten Hamilton in a Grey Cup. Hamilton beat them 30-0 in 28, 14-3 in 29, 25-6 in 1932. And the handoff is to Smith, and Smith, with that quick burst of speed, pops into the 20, and then is pulled down just over the 20 for a gain of nearly 7 yards.
On that ends up position where Tommy Joe Coffey lines up between the guard and the tackle was principally designed for passing formation, but you notice on a couple of occasions this afternoon they've used it for valuable yardage right up the middle, using the backs lined up in that I formation.
Smith has carried 10 times for a net gain of 4 yards. They go to Smith again, hit there by Don Gerhardt, and now he may have picked up the first down here. He was slowed down at the line of scrimmage, but he kept driving, and in underneath that tile, he may have reached the 25 or 24-yard line. He had to get to the 24 to make the first down. They'll measure. There are two football clubs that lost 4 games apiece this season. First and 10 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the 24. Cepatelli at center. A fine afternoon's work. They go to the middle here with Bethia, and Bethia is stopped in there by Atchison, number 41. The gain is up to the 27-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 7. Reed, Atchison, McQuarters, and Gerhardt, the defensive line for Saskatchewan. Ekstrand on the right corner, 75. And the kids come out on the field to try to steal the football, and like I said last week in the Eastern Final, really shouldn't pay attention to it because all it does is bring out more. Follows on the 28-yard line, 2nd and 5. Here goes Zuger. Steps into the pocket, and he is tripped short of the first down, and in there was Kenny Reed. So that'll make it 3rd down and 3 to go. Tommy Grant was away downfield. It looked like Joe was going to try to step into that pocket and go for the bomb.
Yeah, it looked like that was definitely intended for number 75, Tommy Joe Coffey. He was in that similar position that we mentioned a little while ago between the guard and the tackle, this time on the right side. He just took off straight down the field, but number 30, Bennett, was covering him very well.
Joe Zuger kicks a liner to Walashuk on the 30. Turns to get away from Christian. Beats him. Keeps up going. May flip it out. Carrying that ball. It was a great recovery by Christian because Walashuk beat him the first time. But he was caught by Christian as he ran laterally. A 51-yard kick and a 1-yard return.
Looks like he was thrown to the ground pretty hard, John. It appears as if he knocked the back of his head against that hard turf, and he's knocked out temporarily.
Saskatchewan first down on the Saskatchewan 28, and here's Lancaster now with Beatty chasing him. Abenchan throws a block on Beatty, and here's the pass down that sideline, and it is no good. Barwell went right to the fence on that far side. He finally was able to stop himself, but he was into touch when he took the ball. That's the 21st pass attempted by Lancaster this afternoon. He's been good on 8. Now we have 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in this 41st annual Grey Cup Classic. Our sponsors hope that you've enjoyed Canadian professional football, brought to you all season long, and it has been their pleasure to bring these football games to you from all across Canada. Lancaster rolling right, gives to Buchanan, but Buchanan is stopped in there by Mosca on the 31. So the Saskatchewan punting team goes in. Ralph Sazio said he could concede George Reed 100 yards in the ball game. He said you couldn't stop him for any less than that. Reed now has 85. Ford took plenty of time before he let that punt go. And Tommy Grant is down on the 53-yard line by Wally Dempsey. 28-yard kick and a 2-yard return. So the Saskatchewan Roughriders, with a long and glorious history in Canadian football dating all the way back to 1909, a club that finally ended that long famine by winning their first Grey Cup ever last year, appear unable to make it 2 in a row. Hamilton is a well-coached football club, certainly emotionally ready. Here comes Ed Turek in that backfield, and Turek is caught and thrown for a loss back on the 52. And Ralph Sazio figuring that with an 18-1 lead and 3.5 minutes to go, the kids that have stepped into certain spots and helped him all year when you need that bench has now sent Turek in there to get a little taste of Grey Cup. Johnny Simba is also in the backfield. Second down and 11.5 to go. Zuger throwing again, knocked down at the line of scrimmage, and Atchison almost was able to close his hands on that one. And at the 12-minute mark of the fourth quarter, the score is Hamilton 18, Saskatchewan 1. Well, they'll be whooping it up in the winner's dressing room, and it would appear to be the Hamilton dressing room, and our color cameras will be going right into that dressing room for our post-game show. And Joe Zuger, who has been an outstanding ball player here all afternoon, gets set to hit another dandy. And it's Cossett who takes it back on the 1-yard line. Christian waiting for him. Sapatelli pushes him sideways and into touch. There's a flag back at the line of scrimmage. Well, on the 3rd and 11, before the penalty, they'll get enough to move that football up the field because of that roughing call. the Saskatchewan will get the ball again and the first down, and the clock now shows 2 minutes and 33 seconds remaining. There is the Grey Cup waiting to be awarded. Saskatchewan coming out. Warden left. Buchanan left. Campbell left. Ford comes left, and they go the other way with George Reed. And Reed is hit in there and dropped from the 33-yard line by Smokey Stover.
John, with some 17 points behind, you'd think that Ron Lancaster would start throwing some of those bombs that he opened up the first half with. However, he's sticking with George Reed on the ground, thinking that possibly that Hamilton defense would be loosened up, not anticipating the run.
Second down and 5 to go for Saskatchewan. 2:17 remaining. And they go to George Reed again, and he is stopped right on the 36-yard line. So he'll be short by 3 yards. Dave Eady making the tackle. Saskatchewan punting unit goes in. Saskatchewan Roughriders just not been good enough here in any department to handle the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Alan Ford's punt taken by Grant on the 48. There goes one of our ground cameras. They caught it just as it hit the ground. They're almost $110,000 per there, but they saved it. Rough play call against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will get the ball back again. And the ball will be on the 51, so Hamilton has to hustle their defensive unit onto the field once more. And Garney Henley, who has made some great interceptions, just goes out to intercept the fan who tried to steal the football. The ball is on the 51, and the roughing penalties against. Here comes George Reed off the field, just coming off the bottom of your screen. Henry Dorsch goes in to replace him. Barwell and Ford to the right. Minute 47 to go. Saskatchewan first down. Oh, and that draw does not work. The ball is recovered. Here goes the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Billy Ray Loughlin, for a touchdown. Billy Ray Loughlin, 42 yards.
It has to be one of the biggest thrills, I believe, for a lineman. Billy Ray Loughlin picking up that fumble by Buchanan, going all the way in Grey Cup. Watch this as he lumbers across the goal line for the score.
Billy Ray Loughlin, who has had an outstanding year, and I think was the key man in turning the tide so heavily in favor of the Hamilton Tiger Cats against the Ottawa Roughriders in the Eastern Final, comes up with the fumble and goes all the way for the touchdown. The ball is on the 10, waiting for the convert, and they have to clear the field again. 1 minute and 35 seconds. Next year's Grey Cup will be in Toronto. We'll be going into the dressing room, the winner's dressing room, for a post-game show. The convert attempt hits the goalpost, so it does not go through, and it remains as a 24-1 ball game.
John, it appears as if the Saskatchewan Roughriders just don't have anything left for this particular game. They haven't shown anything all afternoon. It could have been that they gave out everything in the tough series against the Calgary Stampeders. They had to go 4-3 games there, as we recall. And it could be that they just didn't have anything left for the Grey Cup game. The Hamilton Tiger Cats looked superb out here this afternoon. The Saskatchewan Roughriders almost conceding defeat.
Comes down to Buchanan. He fumbles it. It's taken by Ford on the 5. And Ford is hit in there by number 46, John Mitchelluk, who's in, and he is dropped. Now there's a bit of a slugfest going on. And they're in there quickly to separate them. Ed Buchanan, I think, took a punch at Christian and Bob Story, and Jim Carpin get into the act. The flag is down, and we could have a couple of long ones tacked on to each club, or they may wipe each other out. It's hard to guess as to what the penalties might be here. But the fans are crowding along those sidelines, and despite the fact that they have a great number of Ottawa City Police here, I doubt that they can handle this mob. If anyone leaves to go out of that field, they'll never finish this ball game. Not that there's any doubt about the outcome. It's now 24-1. So they are now conferring down there to see just what the assessment will be. There's the indication of rough play against Hamilton, rough play against Saskatchewan, and so it wipes everything out. They'll start all over again. The ball is on the 22. Ed Buchanan comes out. Henry Dorsch goes in. Ron Lancaster now goes up to the official, and he's asking something, and it'll be first down. 53 seconds left. The clock is running. First and 10, Saskatchewan. They're down 24-1, trying to get onto the scoreboard. They might have 2 plays left. They give to Henry Dorsch, the fullback, and he is dropped on the 30-yard line. Stopped there by Hanson, Ron Brewer, and in there, underneath that pile-up was the man who made the initial stop, Angelo Mosca. And Big Angelo, who has had an outstanding game here today, probably the best Grey Cup I have ever seen him play. He just gets up slower and slower each time. 17 seconds left. It is second down and 2 to go. And the yardsticks are lost somewhere over in that crowd on that far side of the field. This could be the last play. 7 seconds left. And they give to George Reed, who was stopped at the line of scrimmage, and the mob is on the field. The safest place to be right now is about, I think, up here. That final score is Hamilton 24 and Saskatchewan 1. We'll be back with the summary and post-game show from the Hamilton dressing room after this word from our sponsor. Well, Gene, it's a wild mob scene down on the field as the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who methodically, from almost the first play of the game, took charge of the ball game and systematically defeated a gallant defending champion from Saskatchewan, but a club who just did not have enough equipment to beat the well-drilled, the well-prepared, and the very good Hamilton Tiger Cat Football Club here at Lansdowne Park this afternoon.
Really, John, it was a tremendous contrast between these two teams right from the very beginning. I noticed that the Saskatchewan Roughriders appeared to be listless right from the very beginning. They weren't moving out of that huddle onto the ball with the snap that they normally do. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats, on the other hand, were coming up there quickly. They looked like they really wanted to win this football game right from the very beginning. Defensively and offensively, they were the finest I've seen all year. No doubt the Hamilton Tiger Cats were completely prepared for the Saskatchewan Roughriders this afternoon. And on the other hand, the Saskatchewan Roughriders did not have too much time to prepare for these people, certainly being in a very, very tough contest against the Calgary Stampeders last week.
So therefore, this is exactly what we saw here, a superbly prepared team, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, as John mentioned, methodically taking apart the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan just didn't have enough, didn't have it defensively, didn't have it offensively, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats were on top 24-1. No doubt about it. They were just brilliant here from every respect. Joe Zuger leading them all the way. Just a fine performance by the Hamilton team.
So the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the team that finished second last year, had to do a rebuilding job, and a classic rebuilding job it was. Now let's take a look at the final stats, and then we'll be able to go to our dressing room. Okay, Gord.
Well, the only surprise really on the statistical board is that Saskatchewan made it look close in some departments, despite the fact that out on the field, the Hamilton Tiger Cats were well up on the scoreboard. In the first down department, Saskatchewan actually had 11 to Hamilton's 9, but of course touchdown plays don't count as first downs, and Hamilton lost a couple there. Yards rushing, Hamilton made a bit of a comeback. It came up with 51, but George Reed still led Saskatchewan with 128. Also in the second half, Ron Lancaster came back in passing, but he didn't quite catch Joe Zuger. 119 yards for Lancaster on 8 out of 21. Zuger had 8 out of 21 for 163 yards. A big one here, interceptions, 3 by Hamilton and 1 by Saskatchewan. Penalties, Hamilton was well ahead here, 10 for 105 yards. That includes about 5 roughing or slipping penalties. Saskatchewan 4 for 59, but one of those was a costly interference call. Fumbles, Hamilton made 1 and recovered it. Saskatchewan had 2 fumbles, lost them both, and certainly the one at the end, which Billy Ray Loughlin returned for a touchdown, was the big one, although at that time Hamilton had the game well in hand. George Reed, who Ralph Sazio expected would gain 100 yards, or at least he was willing to concede that he would gain 100 yards, got 96. And that's the statistical picture of the game, and now down to the field.
Hamilton 24, Saskatchewan 1. We'll continue with our post-game show from the dressing room in just a moment.
Yes!
Well, here we are in the pandemonium of the Grey Cup champions dressing room. I'm in here, Al McCann, along with Johnny Bassett and Don Whitman. And here's Angelo Mosca, the great defensive tackle. Angie, congratulations.
Thank you very
on
much.
A great victory.
Yeah, it was a great victory. The guys played real well together, and believe me, we were protected the last place, third place this year. And the veterans pulled the team together, and Ralph did a great job of filling in the vacant spots. And we have a lot of pride in our defense. Even the last 2 minutes, we didn't even want to give up a score because we know what it means. Even though we would win the game, we didn't want to give up a touchdown.
Angie, it's been a long time since you gave up one.
Yeah, it was 6 ball games. Believe me, we got a lot of pride in this defense.
Well, you won your last 7 in a row, Angie, and capped a great season, a comeback season.
Yeah.
You had a little rough going in the early going, and then clear sailing all the way.
That's right. But we just stuck together. We got a bunch of great guys here, and we played together. There's no animosities. If there is, when we put on the pads, we play well together.
And good luck.
Thank you
Good luck
very
in the
much.
offseason. Here's Johnny Bassett. Johnny?
John,
Hi, John.
you guys got to be the best last place football team in the history of Canadian football.
Johnny, this has been the most gratifying year I've ever had. Out of 11 years, it took a long time for our team to knit together, but by golly, when they did, we came up with a real big one. And I'd like to just give a lot of credit where credit's due right now. That we can take a lot of credit now, the players, but Ralph Zazio, I think, did the finest job of knitting the team together of any man that I could ever believe is
One of
possible.
that big 4 next year. Lachlan going to go to halfback.
He stole my touchdown, God bless him.
Allison Kelly came up with that touchdown. Billy Ray Loughlin, I'm sorry. You came up with that touchdown, and in the final minutes, is that the first one you've scored?
Well, that was the first one this year. I scored other touchdowns in Montreal, and I think this is the most electrifying touchdown that I've ever scored.
What about the hitting out along the line? A lot of people said it would be decided along the line. Was it?
I feel that the Saskatchewan line was tough, but our defense overpowered them. They're hand fighters and pushers and holders, but we really rolled them up.
Congratulations, Billy Ray Loughlin, on that fine performance, and may
Thank you very
the
much.
Hamilton Tigard Cats come up with another fine showing again next year.
Okay, Don, thanks, Billy Ray. We'll be back, and the final score in the football game was the Hamilton Tiger Cats 24, the Saskatchewan Roughriders 1. We'll be back with... This year, Labatt's have donated a color television set to the player of the game, voted on by the Football Reporters of Canada. And here to make the presentation to quarterback Joe Zuger is Ted Reynolds, the new president of the FRC. Ted?
Joe, congratulations. You've been selected by the Football Reporters of Canada, the outstanding player in this game. I think it's an extremely suitable choice, Joe. And we'd like you to accept this tray from the Football Reporters of Canada, the outstanding player this year. And also, there will be an RCA Victor full combination color television set taken and installed in your home. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. I wish there was one for every player and every coach on the whole squad. I don't deserve it because I feel that it was a great team effort, but thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well,
thank you very much.
It's a very fine choice, I think, Joe. Congratulations.
Great game, Joe.